Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Savva here from Football Heritage TV. Hope you liked the intro. As I said the other day, I'm hoping at some point there'll be like a Spurs winning goal from a league or a cup final or something that I can add to that intro. So,
it's a football show,
I'll be
not a
dead by
comedy show,
then.
Savva. Come on.
listen, a bit of comedy, Gav, goes a long way. And guys, it's Friday night. Normally by now I'm in a pub somewhere. And tonight I'm spending it with you three. I've pulled you three. So this is all very exciting.
Desperate times, Savva. Desperate times, mate.
Yeah, very, very desperate, Dave. You're our chaperone. Dave, how are you, sir? How are you? You well?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thank you. Yeah, not too bad. Been in hospital most of the day with the old man because he had to have an echocardiogram, and that was really interesting. In fact, it was much more interesting than Forest's away form. So we take our little pleasures where we find them, you know.
Yes, I mean that is stretching in terms of finding pleasure, but listen, I hope all is well. Dan, how are you, mate? You all right?
All good, mate. Happy to be on the show finally. A couple of things have stopped me from appearing, so I'm really happy, really excited, and looking forward to some good football conversation as always.
Good. We'll start by talking about Jose Mourinho. No, we won't.
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. Ruined the Saturday, that did.
And showing off his dartboard. Now he's like made it as a pro or a semi-pro, whatever you are in the world of darts nowadays. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I thought I'd come show face for a little bit before I go hit the board. I've got a match at 8 o'clock, so
nice. You're going to win?
Hang out with,
Should
come
you be
out
winning?
with you guys. Should I win it? I should win it, but it's just practice more than anything else. But I'll save myself for Tuesday nights. Unfortunately, that's why I can't join you on a Tuesday night, because that's when the proper darts happens for me.
No worries. Well, you're here tonight. That's all that matters. Just a nice friendly chat about football. Guys, so the Premier League is back. We've had Champions League this week. We've had Europa League. We've had Conference League. And now we're back to Premier League. Let's start. I want to start with United. Dan, Man United this week, unless I am wrong, are playing Nottingham Forest, and I've got you here and I've got Dave here, and this should be interesting. Dan, Man United have lost Rashford, Lissandro Martinez, and Varane, is my understanding. Is this going to? Your nervous laugh says it all. Is this going to be the difference between you getting top four or not? Or do you feel that your squad has enough to get top four with those players missing?
Do I feel that the squad has enough? I do personally. I think, look, you have a squad of players. You don't have an 11. An 11 doesn't win you the league. An 11 doesn't get you in Champions League. It's a squad. To the fan base, for the most part, there's a lot of people calling for the likes of Maguire to go. And, you know, Maguire's Marmite to Manchester United fans anyway. It's
not just to Man United fans, by the way.
No. It's I love it. Honestly, you hear it all the time, don't you? But he plays well for England. Yeah, but he's not playing for England. He's playing for United. All right, so let's leave that. Look, it's with the greatest respect. Well, actually, no, we're playing Forest away on Sunday now. With the players that were there last night before the madness in the second half happened, I'd have felt a lot more confident. Casemiro being back, Eriksen is now back. But the problem is with losing the players we have, our away form is shoddy at best. And Nottingham Forest have done all right this season at home. They've picked up some big results. So the game on Sunday is going to be a lot closer than I hoped / anticipated it would be. It's a big one. Rashford, the news is that he's back for the Sevilla game next week. I personally hope he isn't. I think we've had this issue a lot in Manchester United with recent history. We're rushing people back when I don't think we should. I think the cherry at the end of the season is far more greater than next week. We've got Martial, who played 60 minutes last night, looked really good as well, looked really, really good. Wout Weghorst, obviously it's Wout Weghorst, but it's a body up top. So I'd much rather United sort of rest Rashford just that little bit longer. Luke Shaw looks set to be back as well. Now Luke Shaw can play in that left centre-back role, so that gives us another body in the defence there. So it's one of them. I don't know what the hell's going to happen Sunday. There's going to be a couple of surprises, and it wouldn't surprise me if Rashford's in the bloody squad now. I've just said that.
Yeah. You never know. I think we hear things as football fans, don't we? And just take it for gospel. So someone says, "Oh, he's out for a year," and we go, "Oh, he's out for a year," and it's like, 3 weeks later, they're back in training, and
Yeah.
Dave, from your point of view for this game, and it'll be interesting to get Gav's perspective as an outsider from this game, so to speak. But Dave, is this a good time to be playing Man United off the back of what is a congested fixture list for them, but with the fact that their 2 best centre-backs are out, Rashford's out? Is this a good time for you to be playing them, or are you that bad that you're worried about playing them at any time?
I think that a lot of the problems that Dan has alluded to with regard to United following last night and this last week or so with their injuries, Forest can mirror that. I mean, at times the City ground in the over the course of this season has been more reminiscent of a Crimean War hospital, with Florence Nightingale going around. Honestly, it's like Steve did his presser this afternoon, and bless him. I love Steve. A lot of them don't, but I do. And he always talks in a measured, reasoned, considered sort of way. And they asked him about the injuries, and it just seems like you giveth with one hand and you taketh away with the other. Because I went to Villa last week, and we just got Cheku Kouyaté back, and we got Moussa Niakhaté back, and we got a bunch of others back. And as the last 10 minutes at Villa Park, we're down to 10 because Moose has to go off, Cheku has to go off, and Steve's done all of his subs. So when some of ours were saying, "Well, United are missing Marcus, and United are missing Rafa Varane, and all these others," and I'm thinking, yeah, but before you can start casting aspersions across there, walk in our shoes, because we've got just the same problems. I've seen United 3 times since Christmas. There is, and I'm not one of these gung-ho, overly partisan Nottingham Forest fans. I left delusion at the door at 6:30 on May the 29th last year when we won at Wembley. Right. Because that was the time to get rid of delusion. Seriously. Right. So I don't do that. I've seen United 3 times, obviously the semi-final, home and away, and at Old Trafford, which was my Christmas present. Thank you very much, Dan. And they are, as you would expect, missing 34. Our squad at 6,000 or 7,000 should really be able to cope. But but United are a level above us, and I think. It's an incredibly difficult game. I think we were set for 38 incredibly difficult games, because I don't disregard anybody.
Would you take a point, Dave? Would you take? If I said to you right now,
I would take a point, because that is against what I consider a team who will finish in the top 4. I think that would be a commendable outcome. We've taken points off City. We've taken points off a point off Chelsea. We beat Liverpool at home. There have been some highlights. It's not a completely. I personally thought earlier in the season, after we lost 6-0 at City and we lost 4-0 at Leicester and 5-0 at Arsenal, Sav, that we would be cut adrift. We would be the Norwich City of this season. We'd be looking up everywhere, and we're not. So, but I tell you what, I take I wouldn't say inspiration from certain odd sources, but one of our deepest philosophical thinkers, one of our great intellectual minds in the world operating at the moment, has got Forest to get a point on Sunday, and that's Chris Sutton. Now, how can I go against him? You know what I mean? So I would definitely take it. I would definitely take him. I think United are on a nice, certainly on the field, on a nice upward curve. I think Eric is the first person within that club to have complete control as a manager since Sir Alex. I think he asserted it beautifully in dealing with the poisonous ego, and dealt with that, because poor old Ralph Rangnick couldn't do it. Ollie couldn't do it. I think it's the first time in Manchester United's history they were being managed by a player. Eric came in and said, "I don't care who you are," and he's asserted himself. I even thought he said the right things after the 7-0 at Anfield. I look at Eric, and I really like him. I think he's a really good coach. There's a little bit of I said in a show a few weeks back, and I was waxing lyrical because I have a florid tendency to do so, that Eric was almost like a Dutch Clough. He stood for no nonsense. He wanted them to play in the right way. If I'm a betting man and I'm a complete neutral, United win, I think narrowly on Sunday. But it's this where I get off in, we've got 8 games left. Our run is incredibly difficult. And if you look at them, you take United at home, Liverpool away, Brighton at home, Brentford away. Probably the only game of our last 8, lads, that you would imagine us being favourites in and really having, should win is Southampton at home on the 8th. But
it's a Monday night game, though, isn't it?
Yeah. But the thing, exactly.
That's a massive game, isn't it? That is a huge
and that's
game.
That's when we get like small children. We get a bit self-conscious when the cameras are on us, So I think the only way I look at it is life is so perverse, and you get something happening occasionally you cannot see coming. And I'm kind of hoping that there is an asteroid coming out, and we say get something against Dan's lot on Sunday, which is going to be incredibly difficult. And Steve has said that today. He's been singing Eric's praises. He said all the right things. No, one thing Nottingham Forest haven't done this year, some people have taken offence at the number of people we signed. Oh, it's a vanity project. It's not. It was forced on us. But what Forest haven't done, Steve hasn't done, he hasn't given any ammunition to the likes of Dan or to you, Savva. And he's never said anything about another club that a manager can pin on the wall. So I think,
it's a
Sunday, I'm going there, and actually I feel like there's not a lot of pressure on us because apart from Chris Sutton, everybody seems to have written us off. So, we'll see where we go with it.
Well, talking about Chris Sutton leads me nicely to Gav Mack in no way at all, but we're going to make that transition over to Gav.
But on that, I just want to say, like, when I was a kid, like before I actually supported a club, I used to love players rather than being like a link to a club. And Chris Sutton used to be one of my favourite players as a kid.
Oh, he's good centre forward, yeah.
But he was also a good filling at centre back. And I was
he was.
It's a shout out that, yeah.
I literally admired that.
Couldn't you have messaged me that in the private chat so I could have made a seamless link coming over to you? Like you could have.
But no one else didn't know. No one knew what the crack was. So,
Gav, man, hook a brother up every now and then with some information, right? And apologies if anyone is offended by really ugly little dogs, because here he is. He
looks better than me, Sav.
Yeah,
he looks like infinitely.
I didn't want to say anything. Gav, you haven't got a horse in this race because you're worried about bigger things at the top of the table. Man United for you this year. Before we go to Forest, Man United for you this year. Are you impressed with what Ten Hag's come in and done at Man United in a short space of time? Are they on an upward trajectory, as Dave said? Are you impressed?
Am I impressed? Yeah, hands down. And the reason why I'm impressed is because everything that was going wrong at United it was an absolute S show, wasn't it? Really.
Yeah.
And if you look at the opening games of the season after those defeats that we saw, I think a lot of, to be honest, hats off to those clubs as well, because I think people looked at those as poor form from Man United, but they've both turned around and had brilliant seasons in Brentford and Brighton.
Agree.
So it might have been the springboard. That's the word. The springboard that they needed in order to progress their season. And a lot of Man United fans were a little bit uneasy about what was going on with Ten Hag and what he was trying to achieve.
Yeah,
football's very hasty nowadays, isn't it? Very reactional and
short-termism.
If that was Crystal Palace from a few years ago, he'd have been sacked straight away. The fact that Man United stood by him, they clearly had an idea. They clearly had a philosophy of what they wanted to do. These things need time. It's just a shame that Man United is such a giant club that you don't always get afforded that time.
Yeah.
There's still a long process in order to get Manchester United back to where they should be. There's changes that they need in defence. Luke Shaw's been great when he has been playing this season, but I still think that there could be an improvement at left back. At right back, there's been, Wan-Bissaka was out the door, wasn't he? And all of a sudden, he's one of the best right backs in the Premier League again. And genuinely, from the outside looking in, I think every time he's played this season, he's been unbelievable.
Yeah, hugely improved.
We all know that Man United, since 2013, have been crying out for a defensive midfielder. They've finally got one now as well. And this is where the issues
just quickly, Gav, doesn't that show the stature of Man United as a club, that even when they're not flying high winning trophies, they can pluck a Casemiro out in the transfer market?
Nobody expected that either, did they? Nobody expected. I don't know where that come from.
No, they're Man United. Of course they can. Yeah. The name alone carries so much weight. And if you look at, for instance, when they signed Pogba, they weren't playing Champions League football at the time. So, and I know that he had history there. But I do feel sorry for the likes of Pogba. I also feel sorry for the likes of McTominay and Fred, because I think I've actually a big fan of Fred, if I'm honest, and that is from when he was playing at Shakhtar. Because on Bet365 and other betting sites are available. You used to be able to watch. You used to be able to watch games. So I'd watch Shakhtar games and things like that on there because you could. And I was like, man, this guy's all right. This guy's all right. I think the price tag was a little bit high, but now that they've got a defensive midfielder, you can see the fruits of what he can bring to the table. You can see it when Sabitza's playing. You can see it when Eriksen was playing before his injury. That they've got so much more freedom and so much more license to play. Now they've got a defensive midfielder. There are still things that need to grow between now and the next 18 months. But Erik ten Hag has got the right idea of what he wants to do, and he's working with the tools that he's been given. And I think he's doing a fantastic job.
And could soon, I don't want to go too deep into this, but Man United could soon have that massive war chest of the new owner who promised, he promised the world, didn't he? In his statement when he wanted to buy the club, it was, I'm going to do everything. We're winning everything. We're going to change the stadium, the training ground. We're going to
change the kitchen. So Ronaldo will be missing it. Exactly. Ronaldo will be fuming. He'll be back. He'll be coming back now, yeah.
He said the only thing he's going to keep is Mavis, the tea lady. That's the only thing he said he's going to keep. But
that sounds a bit odd and creepy to me, really, Trav. I don't know.
You've not met Mavis. You've not met Mavis, mate.
Yeah. Can you set that up, Dan? You've obviously got a connection with it. Can you set that up for me? Can I just go back to Casemiro?
Yeah.
In the games that I've seen United this year, I happen to think that he is one of the best signings any club has made. I think he's a fantastic player. He's got a little bit of the maverick about him. He kind of looks like he's playing at half the pace of everybody else, but his brain is 10 clicks faster than everybody else. And when you put Lazarus next to him, what a pairing they are. I think they're wonderful footballers, a pair. I mean, so somebody said to me, about these players who are not going to play for United on Sunday, sadly through injury, because, the part of being a Forest fan this year, having had 23 years in in the back of somebody's shed on an allotment, is you want to see these great players. Do you know what I mean? So I want to see Casemiro, I want to see Christian, I want to see Marcus and all these. Because the game is bigger than my club, right? It's about loving football. That's when I was a little lad. It was about watching Bobby Charlton, Bobby Moore, Jeff Hurst, all these people. Do you know what I mean? These great players. And I'm the same now.
I'm playing.
Come on now.
Can I just say, you lads,
unless they're Chris
a telegram from the Queen.
Unless they're Chris Sutton, Gav doesn't care that these players that are nowhere near the legacy. But Dave, you're right. You want to see. I don't care who you are, right? If for example, I remember when Barcelona came to Tottenham and I went to Wembley to watch the game, and there was reports from the weekend before that Messi had a slight knock, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, Messi might not play. That's brilliant." I'm like, no. No, I want to watch the best player in the world.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I did, and he ripped us to pieces. But every Spurs fan came away from Wembley. We'd been battered 4-2 by Barcelona, but every fan on the way out wasn't talking about losing. They were going, Jesus Christ, he's so good in person.
Yeah.
He's just, And that's what you want, right? You've been playing, no offense, you've been playing the Bristol Cities and the Huddersfields. And you want Casemiro to play, right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, these tasks that are put in front of us every week when you're playing, the likes of United and Arsenal, Newcastle, all of these teams, I include Bournemouth and Fulham in that. They're mountainous tasks, right? But at the same time, I remember going to Old Trafford just after Christmas when we lost 3-0. I mean, the 3 games we've played against United, they've been clearly the better team. But in every game, Forest have had little pockets of possession. And we, I think especially in the semi-final second leg up at Old Trafford, we were a nuisance until he put Marcus, Jadon and Anthony on. And then we were kind of buggered after that. But I remember going home and my old man said to me, because my old man's a football man, he was a scout for Forest and all this kind of stuff, which is why I support Forest. And he said, who caught your eye? And I said, well, our lads battled hard, but they're not good enough. But I'm telling you now, this Casemiro, you can see why he's won all of these Champions Leagues. I think he's a wonderful, and I love Eriksen. I think the Eriksen story is a great football story. A guy who could have lost his life doing the thing he loves, and when Rashford's not playing, and then I'm seeing Eriksen coming off the bench last week, and I'm thinking, oh, heaven help us. Do you know what I mean?
That's
You know
what
what,
happens
going
when
back
you've got
on
great squads.
That first leg, I actually feel really sorry for you in that first leg. I thought you had the line share for a good hour in that game.
And the Surridge goal gap that was disallowed.
That was tough. But then Man United,
his eyebrow was offside, I think.
big clubs find a way of putting it out the bag at times. If
That's what
if
we
that was
have
game
to
over
learn.
one leg, then it'd probably be a different story. But over two legs,
True.
So for your point, it's a shame. But for a United point of view, like obviously, it's great and that's a trophy for you.
It's all part of the learning curve for us, mate. You know.
Yeah.
So give me a prediction in, guys. I'm going to start with you, Dan. So it's the if I'm not wrong, it's the 4:30 game Sunday, right?
It is
this game.
Now that United are in Europe,
Yeah, so basically you will also know, because Newcastle are playing tomorrow, and obviously Newcastle are now your rivals for top four. Spurs are in there, but we'll talk about that later.
they've got a tough game though.
Away at Villa, they have. We're going to talk about that after we talk about the lot from Woolwich. So Dan, give me a score prediction. Away at Nottingham Forest.
I'm going to go a very close 2-1 United win. I think we'll concede. I think we will concede. Missing Martinez and potentially Varane. It's a big ask. It's a big ask to go anywhere in the Premier League at the moment and rest your hopes on Maguire and Lindelof. I know obviously I said that I think Maguire doesn't deserve the hate he gets, but the thing is, the fans I think at the moment seem to be getting on his back every time he touches the ball. It wasn't so long ago when I was watching him at Old Trafford where the fans booed him every time he touched the ball, and I thought, this is ridiculous. This is your player. You support your player regardless of
absolutely done.
This is 90 minutes. This is 90 minutes of your player, trying to defend and win the game for us. So I'm going to go 2-1, but a very unconfident 2-1, shall we say?
An unconfident 2-1. Dave, are you going to go with an unconfident 2-1 to United, or are you going to back your boys to get a point or a win? Or
if you look at the screen right now, I'm above Dan. This is the first time anybody connected with Nottingham Forest has been above Manchester United all year. Do you know what I mean? So
same with me and Gav.
So the thing is, mate, I mean, I can't believe I'm gonna fall into line with him, but I just got a funny feeling that because I think maybe we've played better against the bigger clubs at home than we have against the lower clubs.
Just say it. Just tell me you're going to win. You think you're going to win, don't you?
I don't think we'll win. I don't think we're good enough to win. I do think we've got our best forward line. I think Taiwo's going to come in and play alongside Morgan and Bren. And Bren's quick.
He's quality. I really like him.
He's a good lad, yeah.
So
and Morgan has done really well. I think Morgan's price tag, which was a bone of contention at the start of the season, is no longer such a bone of contention. Morgan's really popular. The fans love Morgan. I think that front three will be all right. We don't have enough control in midfield. I think we are. I've seen every team in this division now, and I've been very fortunate to do so. And I believe that everybody else in this league, and I include Bournemouth in it, I include Southampton in it, I include all the teams around us at the bottom in that mini league, if you like, they all keep the ball better than us. They don't give it away as often as we do. And they all seem to have in their ranks a playmaker, somebody who can control the tempo of a game. Yeah. We don't have that. We have Ryan Yates, who's fabulous lad, gives his all.
I love Ryan Yates.
His attitude in every game. Just one.
Basically, lads, he's the sort of lad who you can imagine him sitting next to me in the Trent end and then stripping his coat off, running down, jumping over the barrier and starting playing, right? Because he's one of us. So we've got big deficiencies, right? Which I don't think will allow us to beat United, because even a sort of a depleted United is still going to be, I think, a big task for us.
Is Aurier available?
I'm not sure. I think it'd be Nico Williams done. So
because if he is, then I always feel confident when he's on the pitch. I always feel confident on the pitch.
Hey, I'll tell you what though, Dan. I know exactly where you're coming from, mate. And I've spoken to and I guess Savva's had this view as well, and a lot of the Tottenham lads, great Tottenham lads that I speak to, about Serge. And Serge was the last one in of that great exodus into the club. And we kind of thought, well, it was an afterthought. And he's actually, probably along with Felipe, who we signed from Atletico Madrid, who I think has been excellent. He's the only bloke with the ponytail I like, really. He's come in. And Serge has been a pleasant surprise. There are others who come in.
Do you know what, Dave? Do you know what? Obviously a Spurs fan who saw him play, I don't know, 100 times for the club, whatever he did. Serge Aurier is frustrating because there is a talented footballer there.
Oh, absolutely.
He just has the brain farts. It's the
Exactly
constant. It's the constant moments when you're thinking, don't
Why?
dive in, don't dive in. Oh, he dived in.
He
He
will
dived
ball
in.
out for 80 minutes and then just do one dickhead thing, and it's like,
He'll be out, 100%. I agree.
Dave, can I get a score? Can I get a score from you?
1-1. I'm going to go 1-1, and I'm hoping that I'm not. I mean, actually, what you tend to find is I'm 100% wrong with my predictions. If I predict Forest to win, they all don't bother to get changed. They just go home. They don't. Dave's predicted is to win.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Predicting United win then. Predicting United
win. No, don't predict United win. We're bloody struggling
here. I'll tell you what it'll be. It'll be Nottingham Forest 1, Manchester United 8, and I fancy Solskjaer for a hat-trick.
Four goals in 11 minutes.
Off the bench, yeah?
Dave, was that the same game where Pierre Van Hooijdonk scored and no one celebrated?
Probably Dan. Yeah, Pierre was a tremendous player, but he wasn't. Let's just say he was a slightly socially awkward human.
Yes,
being,
he was.
You know
I remember that.
Just a little bit. Yeah. That's a nice.
He was on strike, and I think what happened. Forest sold dear old Kev Campbell, and I think the rest of the Forest squad at the time felt that Kev, because obviously Kev's a strong personality, great guy, that Kev was the one who could get Pierre back into the fold. But I think by that time Kev had gone. And the situation was just a nightmare, you know what I mean? So
I've been 12 times this season. I don't know what more I'm meant to do.
Sorry, what's an E fan? Is this a new saying?
It's someone who doesn't go watch the football, apparently. It's someone who doesn't go to the ground. So
I'll tell you what, I don't go to the ground because I won't give our owners a penny. But that's a different story. And let's not ruin my Friday night by talking about Tottenham Hotspur.
I'm going with the 1-0 Man United win, but it's not going to be easy. It's going to be horrible. And the thing is, the City ground, when the fans get going, they know how to do it. I used to do a data analysis job. And I did. You played a friendly against Real Sociedad a couple of seasons ago, and
I was there, Gav. Yeah, so brilliant.
It was nice.
2-2. Yeah.
And that even in the preseason friendly, like those fans, they went for it. I was like, rah. So like I know that these Man United are full of like top talent. They know how to handle situations, but there's just something about the City ground. I think it might be a bit difficult. It's going to be a very hard fought 1-0 win for United.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move. I want to move on to Arsenal, and then after that we're going to talk about. I see there's a conversation going on in the chat about Eddie Howe, which I enjoy the Eddie Howe conversation, so I want to have that afterwards as well. Please smash the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't. Please subscribe to everyone in here. I'll put the links in a bit. Please press the like button and give us your prediction for Nottingham Forest versus Man United. Gav, your boys are flying, so it's 7 wins and a draw from your last 8. Obviously, the draw being at Anfield, which most clubs would love a point at Anfield, but because you're now in the title race, it almost felt like it wasn't a draw. What's your feelings? Because you've got West Ham away, who are another team down. There's like 8 teams in a relegation battle. West Ham away normally is not easy, but Newcastle just went there and slapped them 5-1. Are you expecting something similar? And what are your thoughts on this running now for Arsenal?
No, I'm not expecting anything similar to that. But I do expect a hard-fought, well-worked victory. I do expect it, which means that we're going to lose now. I've said it. But look, that game at the weekend, I found it really hard to deal with that, if I'm honest. Because before the game, it was like, man, I'll take a point at Anfield all day. We don't travel well. We won there in 2012. And prior to that, we won there in 2003-04 season in the league. We don't win games at Anfield. But after being 2-0 up and cruising, you know, I don't know what happened. People are trying to blame it on Granit Xhaka. I really can't stand the slander that guy gets. I feel for him.
This season especially, he's been stunning.
He's been fantastic.
Stunning.
Absolutely brilliant this year, that lad.
Exactly. And being a massive Bundesliga fan anyway, and like my show is Bundesliga based, like this is the Xhaka that we signed. You know, someone, once again, like Man United situation, get a defensive midfielder, and then you can see the fruits of the labour. That is exactly what he's done. And but then, like, as the like that little kerfuffle, it is what it is. We didn't concentrate properly. They were allowed to bring one back. After that, we conceded a penalty, a very silly penalty, and it was a penalty. Arsenal fans are moaning about it. It's a penalty.
Yeah, it was a pen. Yeah.
The fact he's missed that, we should be then saying, right, that's on us now. Let's go forward. Let's go take this forward. Let's go do something about it. Instead, we sort of fell within ourselves, and when we made defensive substitutions way too early. We knew there was going to be 5-6 minutes of injury time. We made that decision, those decisions on 79, 80 minutes. That's 15 minutes of sitting there and allowing the pressure to come towards us. I feel that we made a bit of a mistake there. However, I still think it's 2 points dropped, but it is a very important point in this running. West Ham, they need to survive. They're only 3 points ahead of the relegation positions.
They're getting relegated. I'm telling Lawless this every week. They're getting
I wondered how long it would be before his name really, Ted.
I'm amazed he's not here. Honestly, I turn up to work on a Monday and I'm surprised he's not there. He's everywhere. Everywhere.
Haven't we all got those mates, right, that are so unbearable for their own team that alone makes you want their team to
I love him, actually. I think he's great.
Just quickly, guys. Sorry, I'm going to stop it there just to say, I mean, Alan Sibley, thank you so much. That's a wonderful donation. And for anyone that doesn't know, before I come to this donation, I do give all my super chat money does go to the British Heart Foundation. So I keep any...
Savva, can I just say then, mate, based on what's happened in my family today and what my old man's had to put up with for the last 25 years, mate, I think that's really commendable. Dad had an open heart surgery in 1998. Anybody who donates. So, Sav, you're already high in my esteem, mate. You're even further up now, mate. So thank you so much for that.
Look, at the end of the day, I lost both my parents to heart-related issues, so I do streams every now and then that are 20. I've done 2 24-hour streams. They killed me, but look,
I might give that a go myself.
So, Alan,
I'm married. That ain't happening.
I love this too.
I'm unattractive, so I'm all right.
But listen, on a serious note, Alan, that is a wonderful donation. What I will do, Alan, just so you know, is I will stick £50 of my own money into the British Heart Foundation tonight, and then I will claw this back when YouTube pay me. But thank you. That is a really, really kind donation. And hopefully it stops the myth that everyone who YouTubes makes thousands of pounds a month from it or something. Like, you know, people go, oh, you got 2 jobs and you earn lots. It's like, how much do you think YouTube pay me? What do you think I'm getting paid by YouTube, right? I'm not expressions oozing. You know, I'm not the football Terry's. Sorry if Terry's watching this. I'm sure he earns loads. But thank you very much, Alan. That's really kind of you. Completely forgot where we were. Gav,
Gav,
can I just ask you a question, Gav?
Yeah, go
just
for
a
it.
quick question. Just, you know, with the substitutions that were made by Arteta, do you think that's naivety in the fact of not being in a title race? This is his first time as a manager in his own right as in a title race. Do you think it's a bit of that there?
I think so. I think what he saw that the pressure was being hit on us, and I thought instead of fighting, it's a difficult one because you can only deal with it when you're in it. Like, do you fight fire with fire? Could you have made? Do you know what? Like, all this pressure is coming towards us. Do we then take off a more defensive-minded player and put on an attacking player, and then be like, do you know what? Screw you, let's go for it. You know, it's tough, and we can easily sit back and say you should have done this, you should have done that, as I am right now.
Yeah.
But I just feel like, you know, to bring on a centre half and make it a back 5, because what would normally happen, we would bring on Rob Holding at that point, and Rob Holding would be doing bits in that defensive situation. I just feel like that is a way, but like it is a shame. But I look at West Ham. West Ham, they're 3 points ahead of the relegation position. They got a very good draw.
They're European giants.
Well,
I hate just because of Lawless. I hate them.
But Gav, do you think
yesterday? So I think that there is an opportunity for them to go on and win the Europa Conference.
Right? Would you all? I've got a question then about West Ham. Right, I can't stand them, and I'll tell you why. You could say it's the Spurs West Ham rivalry. It's not. I've got mates. Two of my mates. One of them was the best man at my wedding. All last year when West Ham were flying high up there in 5th and 6th and getting to the Europa League semi-final, it was massive. Everything was massive. And if I heard the word massive one more time, this year, funnily enough, they're a little bit quieter in the WhatsApp groups. But would you guys take this to get the pleasure of seeing West Ham relegated? Would you take it if it meant the only way they get relegated is if they win the Conference League? Because I'd love to see them win the Conference League, get relegated, and be playing Europa League football whilst having just played
Ipswich
away on the Saturday. Ipswich away on the Sunday, and then Thursday night they're playing, I don't know, AC Milan or something. Would you take it?
No, just because I do the European show with Dan Potts and Lawless would still be on it. I couldn't handle it. I just couldn't hack him. Do you know what though? It'd be an odd one, wouldn't it? Because imagine if they did get relegated but won it, would Moyes still be there by then? This is the question, isn't it?
That's a great point. What do you do? Thank you for winning. I mean, I don't know West Ham's history like Spurs, but I'm going to go out on a limb. Dave, you might know a bit more than me. Sorry, you're very good with your historic stuff. Have West Ham have they won a European trophy? Does anyone know?
Yes. Yeah, they won the 1960. They won the Cup Winners' Cup in 1965. The year after they beat Preston in the FA Cup final 64, and they won the Cup Winners' Cup. They beat TS Munich in 1965. Then after
then won the World Cup in '66. Apparently, according
they
to
won the World Cup in
right.
'66. Although, can I just say, and slightly tangential, we would have won the World Cup in 1962 and maybe 1958 if a certain plane hadn't crashed. Let me just say that, right? Yeah. I think that's we would have won the World Cup if we'd have had. I actually think I was saying to my dad the other day, because my dad remembers all these. Had the lads survived, and I wish they had, because I'd love those guys to have been around. I think Duncan would have raised the cup in '66 rather than Bobby. That's my own.
Well, some people say that Duncan Edwards was the best player alive at one point. Like when he was
a boy
alive,
of 18. All I know, Sab, is he was a boy of 18. And if you take Declan as an example, and Declan's a good player.
I love the way you first name everyone. I love this. Because as soon as
mates, I love watching him. I'm an old softie, you know what I mean?
But every time you say a first name, my brain goes Declan. Oh, Rice. Okay, now I'm like,
do you think Declan Rice is watching this and he's like that Leonardo DiCaprio gif where he's like,
I just treat all these lads I watch as mates because I've got no other friends.
Yeah, why not? So, you make me think. So when earlier you were going Bren, I'm like, oh, Brennan John. Okay, right.
Yeah.
It's like word association.
Yeah. I didn't like when I was at school, lads. I didn't like it when a master referred to me, oi, Asprey, oi, you, Smith, Asprey, whatever. Because I'm not really a military mind. I didn't like that military philosophy, So I'm like, I'm an old softie. But West Ham, to go back to the point, sorry, I'm so tangential, forgive me. I think I talked about weird things happening, and that would be weird if Forest beat United. West Ham winning that European National Conference FA Vars plate, whatever it is they're in, right, and getting relegated, it's one of those weird things. And I love Lawless. I think Lawless is fantastic because whatever you say about Lawless, the lad sticks to his convictions. He has the courage of them and he sticks to his guns, and you can't take that away from Lawless. But all I want, I'm looking at Gav down there with his Kansas City Chiefs hat on. He's got his Patrick Mahomes head on, right? Man. And I'm thinking,
two-time champions in the last 5 years.
Absolutely, mate. Great team. If they can score a few touchdowns at the London Stadium and help us on Sunday before we go into battle against Danslot, I'll be really, really happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, let me come to let me come to you then, Dan. I mean, West Ham versus Arsenal. Obviously, it doesn't. I don't think that game affects your club in any way, shape, or form, really. but Arsenal were in uncharted territory for this version of Arsenal, right? Chasing a title, leading, not chasing anyone down. They're leading
for a while now as well.
And they have been leading for a while. And we'll talk about City afterwards, but Man City and Arsenal fans I've spoken to today hate me. Man City are doing what I think everyone said they would do at some point, which is go on a Man City business end of the season run. So the people are going, oh my God, I can't believe how good City are. But no, they do this most years. It's just normally there isn't
to wind everyone else up. It's like, go on, Arsenal, crack on, do that.
Yeah.
I did to Liverpool. Go on, Liverpool, have that.
They did it to United when we were top for about 4 games about 3 years ago. We were like, oh, we're top, and I was like, don't do it. City will do it.
If City aren't leading at that point, they're like, all right, okay, let's flex.
But they have. And the thing is, they are so. You get 2 types of Arsenal fan, right? You get 2 types of every fan, but some of the Arsenal fans I've been speaking to in the last couple of days are just like, oh, you think City are going to win their league just because you hate Arsenal. And I'm like, no, that's not it at all. My worry for Arsenal would be, and I'm not worried for Arsenal because I'm a Spurs fan, but my worry for Arsenal would be City know how to do it, Dan. City have won 4 of the last 5, and they've got to that stage where they're not just winning games, Dan. They're battering teams. Like every game at the moment, you're like, will it be 4 goals or 5 today? Are you thinking this is going to start to play on the minds of Arsenal, starting with West Ham, or do you think this is going to make Arsenal mentality match City's?
It's one of them, isn't it? It's a one-upmanship. I mean, the whole thing when Haaland got injured, everyone said, Haaland's injured, City are screwed. I said, they got Alvarez. And Alvarez
exactly. A great little player.
He's unreal. He gets into any team.
Yeah. Super. The new Aguero.
Oh, he's unreal. I think look, the one thing that I will go back to is that Arsenal didn't lose at Anfield. And Arsenal had the chance right at the end, didn't they? You know, if Martinelli plays that ball properly, Saka's in one-on-one, we could be talking a whole different conversation here. We could be sat here saying,
if that had
Arsenal
happened,
won Anfield.
If Arsenal won that game, I would be sat here very confident saying we're going to win the league.
Yeah.
We could afford to go to the Etihad and lose, and we're good. You know, even though our running is bad, like for other teams, I would probably say like the confidence is fine, you know, and then we will go to West Ham. We'll deal with that. We've got Brighton away. Don't worry about it. We'll deal with that. I was looking.
I hope you do because we need you to now.
Well, exactly, and you needed to do something at Newcastle. Now, like I've said the whole season, even when we have been top, and even at one point, like before City had played or something, we were like 10 points clear, whatever. I was like, we're not going to win the league this year. And I'm not trying to say it as a I'm all right about it. We haven't got the full package to go on and win the league this year. I genuinely don't believe that. And until that happens, we won't. Well, we will challenge again, but we won't go on and get over the line. We are so close to it in terms of what we need. And like I've said about like defending Granit Xhaka, I do believe that we need someone who is as good, if not better than him, because when he has been injured or he's been out, we've then had to play like a Vieira there, who isn't that guy. When Thomas Partey's been missing, we haven't really been able to deal with that defensive midfield.
You've not got the depth City have got, right? That's essentially it.
Effectively, yeah. Defensively, I genuinely believe defensively we have got everything that we need there at the moment. You know, if one injury happens, you know, Rob Holding, people will bag on him, but has he put a foot wrong in an Arsenal shirt really this season when he's had to come on and been called upon? No, he's just not as charismatic and as cool and crisp as a Saliba. You know, if his name was Holdini, as Arsenal fans take the piss and call him that,
Holdini,
you know, then people would pay him respect more. But we bought him for £1.8 million from Bolton, so therefore he's irrelevant to us.
Gav, that's a really good point about Rob Holding, and I find that with certain lads at Forest.
Oh, people
have this perception of players. Do you know what I mean? And they're like, oh, he's not from Brazil, so he's kind of dull, and you know, so like people at our club like Jack Colback get it in the neck. Ryan Yates, poor lad, had it in the neck. Joe Worrell's getting it in the neck. And it's like, if a lad's from Hucknall or Derby or Lincoln, oh, he's boring and we can't do it. But if he's from Sao Paulo, and I think that people have this, you know, this perception that somebody, He's exotic because he's from
It's
over there.
It's
He's
foreign,
not
so it's
exotic.
brilliant.
And I think it's almost like it's about judging people on their looks, and I think it's so insensitive.
It's
and
been
so
happening for
lacking in
years.
intellect.
It's been happening for years.
Yeah.
It's an embarrassment.
You've
But, like,
inspired me, boys. You've inspired. I might start a petition now and get Maguire to change his name for Sunday to Maguire Andinho.
Maguire, you know,
Yeah.
then he's all right. But
Yeah.
I just think, like City are just a different breed altogether.
Finished
And, like,
article against work in progress, Gav.
And
That's the way I see
exactly.
it,
The
mate.
fact that we are doing this at the moment, I think, is unbelievable. And I
You're
can see
overachieving, mate.
already.
It's fantastic.
I can see already. Everyone's going to be taking a piss out of us if we don't win the league. They'll all be saying, "Oh well, you bottled it, you bottled it, you bottled it." We will finish on more points this season, win the title or not, than we have done with any other point total in our history. We're going to get more than 90 points this year. We will get more. And we the last time we won the title was with 90 points. You know, did we bottle the league in 98, 99? We only conceded 17 goals that season across 30
That was only because
games.
Spurs didn't want to do you a favour and let us beat them, I think.
Well, they started doing us a favour, then they thought, oh shit,
that goal when Les Ferdinand scored, and it was like the Spurs fans were like,
oh, what you doing?
Is that when he sort of looped it over Schmeichel, didn't he? And then
But if we had beaten was it Leeds or Villa? Villa, wasn't it? We lost 1-0 and we battered them. We lost 1-0 on the Wednesday. We win that, we won the league. But no one wants to talk about that because, and I always talk about the actual league season itself of Man United's treble winning season. Everyone goes best title treble winning.
we were inconsistent. We were inconsistent.
You went unbeaten after Christmas, 79 points. But other than that, like the 08 team, far beyond. Your 99-2000 team was unreal. And the 2001,
Great side.
Streets clear of 98-99. But they look at what happened beforehand. And
I think the thing is, guys, for me with this is, and I'm always a believer in this. It's you can look at this over a season or in a game. You know, games of football. It starts, a couple of goals go in, everyone goes, oh, this game's over, you were being battered. It doesn't matter. It's how you finish the game, right? And that's the same with a season. A season is all about the business end of the season. So fans, we all do this. All football fans, we sit there, don't we? And we go, oh, my God. Like, remember when Blackpool were in the league and they were flying and everyone was going, oh, my God. Blackpool in Europe. And you're like, okay, be
still my beating heart.
it's been 10 games and everyone wants to write people off or this, that, the other. City know how to do this bit. And somebody said it in the chat earlier that Liam Gallagher said, or Noel Gallagher, I forget which one's which, that they're in City are in trophy mode, right? It's the business end of the season. This is what counts. And I've said to a lot of Arsenal fans, and like, you know, I know sensible Arsenal fans like Gav, and then I know Arsenal fans that are just so annoying with where they are in the league at the moment that it almost makes me want them to completely implode, right? But I keep saying to those fans, just stop telling people when you're 8 or 11 points clear that this is our title, we've won. Stop doing that, you know, keep grounded. Look,
I even said, if we win the title, I won't celebrate it until I see him lift the trophy, just in case there's some bullshit behind the scenes.
Sensible, Gav.
I remember when we signed Alexis Sanchez, and I was like, I'm not believing it until I see him on the Arsenal website. I was seeing it on the Arsenal website, parading in our shirt because the amount of times, we signed Higuain. Higuain is done. No, we never. Sami Khedira, that deal's done. No, we never. Like all these
Mudryk.
players and stuff. Mudryk. Yeah, all these Arsenal fans making YouTube videos. It's like, this is how he's going to split him. This is what he's going to do. Well, where is he? He's not wearing a red shirt, is he?
I was like that, Gav, with a certain player you might remember, Robin van Persie.
Oh, RVP. Oh, wow.
Right.
Not until I saw him have that shirt up did I think it was happening.
Yeah,
I didn't believe
and
it
you
happened.
wouldn't.
No.
Just
Do you know,
win the league.
the key question, lads, is did any of us at the start of the season, any of the four of us, and I think we're all perceptive, understanding guys about football and our clubs, so Arsenal, Manchester United, Nottingham Forest, Tottenham Hotspur, right? If you'd have said on August the 1st, will Arsenal win the title? I don't think anybody would have said
66
yes.
to 1
So
we were.
the way I look at Arsenal as a Forest supporter, but a lover of the game, I think this is the most likeable Arsenal team for at least a decade.
I agree.
I think their manager is excellent. I think they're playing great football. And even if they don't win it, by gum, Arsenal have had a good. Arsenal all of a sudden are more attractive to good players wanting to come in.
Precisely. Right. Can I address what this Rams guy is saying? I feel like Savva now. I feel like Savva, and I'm biting, and I hate myself for biting.
Hey, why did you have to dig me out in that? Like, why couldn't you have just addressed him?
Because you're a Spurs fan. But no, right. There's two things he's put in here. If we don't win the league, we have the same season as Spurs, and then he's gone on to say no, because my fan base is happy to have a good season and not win the league than when we had an 8-point league. We threw away through 3 competitions. Look, did I say at any single point that I am happy? I have not said that. I have not said that once. I'm desperate for my team to win the Premier League. I'm 35 years old, and I didn't think we would see Arsenal win the Premier League again in my lifetime because of everything that's happened. I made my younger brother, I call him my younger brother because he's 6'2". My younger brother, not my little brother. I made him an Arsenal fan, and he doesn't remember properly when Arsenal won the league. He was 6 turning 7 years old, and I look at him and I respect that kid more than anyone that I've ever respected. He is literally my soul and blood, and I feel guilty that I have made him an Arsenal fan over the years because he's got nothing to celebrate.
Gav, he could have been a Forest fan and had 23 years stuck in a shed, mate.
Yeah, exactly that.
Hang on. I'm listening to Gav thinking, I support Spurs. Like, what are you talking? You're talking about
but the thing is, like, over the last few years, you've had Champions League football. I don't remember what that music sounds like. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's been ages. If you said at the beginning of the season, will you get top 4? I didn't even think we would get 5th or 6th at the beginning of the season. The fact that we're in this position, I'm remaining
That's my point, Gav.
Can I address? I'm remaining humble. I'm not being a blasé, typical, out there for likes fan. I'm being an honest fan and being honest with my expectations of my football.
Well, Gav,
club. I don't expect us to win the Premier League. If we do, it is an unbelievable achievement, as it is. Even if City win the league, it's an unbelievable achievement. But you've done it for 38 games. But I'm not quite sure if we can, and I would love it if we could.
Let me address this, then we'll get some predictions. Then I want to talk Newcastle Villa before Gav has to jump off earlier than the rest of you. Look, Rams, listen, I get it, right? I completely get where you're coming from. It's all about you want to have this mentality that the only thing you can do is finish first. It's an elite winner's mentality. I get it, but I also feel like you are massively forgetting the last few years. You've gone from 8th,
agreed,
5th. If anyone had told you, Rams, at the beginning, as Dave said, the 1st of August, if someone had said Arsenal were going to finish 2nd, I'm not saying you are, you could win it, right? I'm just saying, hypothetically, Arsenal were going to finish 2nd on 90 plus points, you would bite their hand off. The problem is the expectation has been raised because, one, how well you're doing, but two, because City, for about a 10-15 game period, weren't this City. They were a kind of, we'll try and test a few things. If, as a fan, you're going to turn around and say that if you finish 2nd on 90 points, you've had the same season as my shitty club, right? I'm sorry. Let me give you I'll give you 3 reasons why not. First of all, Spurs are going to be nowhere near 90 points. Second of all, we're going to be nowhere near 2nd. Third, watch Tottenham play, then watch your team play. Yeah, true. And then tell me who's had the better year. Because what we watch is
bang on, Savva.
There could be a situation, Savva, where we will have more wins and more points than we did when we won the title last, with our highest ever total, and not win the league. And that will be redeemed as a failure to Arsenal fans.
But Gav,
it's still a level of progress. If we win the league this year, which I really hope we do, does that mean that we have to win the league for the next 50 years on the spin? Because then that will show a backward step. Every team is going to be out there improving. This is our time, I think, to try and do something. We've got one more season. If we're keeping it exactly how we are, there are players that we need to not necessarily move on, but they should be the ones that will be on the bench and pushing the other players that are coming in. We can't just sustain. We're almost a little bit like Tottenham in a way of the 16-17 season, where the starting 11 was bang on the money and should have gone on to do something better. But Chelsea were just that little bit better. You didn't have a squad. You had 14 players effectively. Arsenal right now, our best 11, we know what our best 11 is. When we won the title in 2003-04 season, we knew what our best 11 was, but they only played together as the full 11 3 times in that whole season. So Edu and Ray Parlour were holding down our midfield for a long period of time, but people still bang on about that season was great because we had Gilberto Silva and Patrick Vieira. That didn't happen. We only had it for 3 games where we had our best 11 out there. This season, we've had our best 11 out there, and we made the same substitutions every time. I'm not saying that is a mistake. I genuinely am not saying that is a mistake. What I'm saying is that we haven't got anyone that is in there saying, right, no, I'm going to push you. Why is Kieran Tierney not starting more games? Because Zinchenko's doing his thing. Is Zinchenko not getting pushed enough by Kieran Tierney? Was Eddie Nketiah starting games before Jesus got injured? No, that wasn't happening. The only thing that really happened was the fact that Tomiyasu, he got his injury and Ben White got forced out to right back and turned into arguably the best right back in the Premier League this season. And that, for me, isn't quite good enough. We need to have players that are going to be pushing and makes you think every week, shit, what's our lineup going to be this week?
Gav,
what are we going to do it?
What I don't get is like this fan here is saying this is Arteta's 4th season, yet this is good enough. Arsenal keep on getting excuses. Now listen,
8th, 5th, 2nd/3rd.
Right. I don't understand, right? You've got a manager that has, lots of...
I wanted him out, by the way. I'll put my hands out there and say that I actually wanted Arteta out.
I think most did, though, didn't they?
Well, this is what I was going to say. Lots of Arsenal fans will admit they wanted him out. But the thing is, he's gone 8th, 5th. Now you're going to finish 1st or 2nd. Guaranteed 1st or 2nd. I can't understand how there are any negative connotations to come out of this if I'm an Arsenal fan, right? I don't get this. This whole, he's been here 4 seasons. Yes, but he didn't pick up Man City. He didn't pick up Chelsea's billions of pounds. He went into an Arsenal team that were fractured. Hence the reason
delusion.
He got the job.
Delusion, Sav. We're back to delusion, mate. It's as if Arsenal fans believe for the last 10 years and this year, we should be winning the Premier League every year. Get real.
It's mad.
I mean? Gav knows what's going on. Gav's talk really love. I've been really enjoying listening to Gav talking a lot of sense about Arsenal and giving that context. The comment down there about context changing actually is valid, but there are different contexts. I'm looking in from the outside like I do into Manchester United. I'm interested in all these clubs. I'm not just Nottingham Forest tunnel vision and that's it, because that's not fair. If I come on these shows and just talk about my own club and don't know anything about it, but if somebody said to me I saw Arsenal beat Forest 5-0 at the Emirates, right? And for years I've looked at Arsenal and thought, God, they're dull, they're this, that, and the other. And I thought Arsenal that day against us, admittedly, we're a poor team in the Premier League. Let's get that out of the way first. But Arsenal were great to watch. Partey was fantastic. Bukayo's fantastic. Martinelli's fantastic. These lads are, if I was an Arsenal fan, Gav, and I was in your shoes, mate, I'd actually be saying, no, this is way better than I thought, because I hold on to the context at the start of the season, mate.
It is, but I'll be truly devastated. I'll be truly devastated if we don't win the league, though.
Just quickly, right? Sorry, I just want to address this. Sorry, and we will move on, but I like to make my shows interactive with people in the comments, because otherwise I feel like there's no point in doing the shows. Minerals, when you turn around and say, Savva, I think it's because our fans demand standards, probably. Just saying. Yes, you can demand standards, but Minerals, where did you predict Arsenal to finish at the beginning of the season? Right? I guarantee you didn't say 1st or 2nd. I guarantee you probably said, like most Arsenal fans, if we can get back in that top 4, we've had a good year. Champions League football. The problem is, because Arteta's done so well, now it's a failure for him doing that well. It's backwards. What Arsenal fans should be doing, and yes, I'm speaking for Arsenal fans here, what Arsenal fans should be thinking if you finish on 90 points and 2nd is, right, what a brilliant year. How do we kick on? Precisely. What do we do this summer to make sure that this isn't a fluke? And what I'd also like to say, before I do get your predictions, guys, I just want to say this. Arsenal fans will say this. Chelsea fans will say this. Liverpool will. Man United will. City will. You can't all win the league, right? You can't all win it. So 4 years, he's won an FA Cup, got you back into Champions League and possibly winning the title. I'm sorry. Please don't come at me with our fans have got better standards than yours. First of all, Spurs fans, it doesn't matter what our standards are. We're not winning jack shit ever. So there's no point talking about that. Anyway, it's just, I don't know what's
Neither are we.
Right. Last thing I'll say is, Minerals, do me a favour. Tell me your age in the chat, please. Because I want to know, when you're talking about standards, I want to know how old you were the last time Arsenal won the league. Right? Anyway, Dave, give me a prediction. Arsenal away at West Ham.
Heart and head in unison, because I want West Ham beaten to help us. I think it'll be West Ham United 0, Arsenal 2, because I think Arsenal will rebound after what happened last week. And I bet you Granit Xhaka scores as well.
Dan, West Ham at home to Arsenal. Any hope for the Hammers?
Sorry, I just read that message. I'm just
yeah, Ornstein tweeted it. Yeah.
Dan, I'm not grinning at all, mate. Honestly, I'm not.
Mate, honestly. Do you know something? I'm going to go big here because I just think West Ham are shit. So I'm going to go 4-0 Arsenal. I think Arsenal will be absolutely chomping at the bit to send a message out, and I think it'll be 4-0. I think I can't see West Ham getting anything from there. No. Yeah. They just drew away to Ghent, by the way. So they're not. It's not like they're beating giants, is it? So I'm 4-0.
Well, touch wood. Our record in London derbies this season has been brilliant, and our away form has been better than our home form in terms of clean sheets and things like that. So I'm praying for another clean sheet, and I'm going with a 3-0 Arsenal win. 3-0.
Okay, and I'm going to go. I think Arsenal will win it 3-1. I think. Comfortably. West Ham are a funny old team. Look, I know you've got to jump in 10 minutes, Gav, so I'll come to you first. I want to talk about I believe it's the lunchtime kickoff tomorrow. Newcastle United away.
Well. Thanks for reminding me.
Newcastle away at Aston Villa. You have got Aston Villa who have won 4 on the bounce.
Yep.
Newcastle have won 5 on the bounce. Before we talk about the score or predictions for that game, why does Eddie Howe not get more credit for the absolutely stunning job? I don't care what anyone says. That guy has performed miracles. He picked up Newcastle, I think it was 2 weeks before Conte picked up Spurs, right? He picked up a team that had played 14 Premier League games, hadn't won one of them, were rock bottom of the league. And everyone was sat laughing, going, oh, my God, they've been bought out by billionaires. They could be in the championship next year. They're definitely going down. What he's done with them, Gav, I'd love to say was he just went and bought loads of 70, 80, 90 million pound players.
And he could have, the money they've got.
He could have. He hasn't. And what he's actually done, if you look at what he's done with Fabian Schär,
Baller. I love him.
Longstaff, Almiron. Joe Linton. What he's done with those players, as well as shrewd signings like Dan Burn,
signing.
Trippier, right? Isak. I think Eddie Howe, for me, I don't care if Arsenal win the league. I know he won't get it, but Eddie Howe, for me, is my manager of the year. I think the job he's done, Gav, is amazing. Why doesn't he get more respect?
Well, first things first, do you watch the Coach's Voice YouTube channel?
Yes, I haven't lately, but I do. I used to watch it a lot, yeah.
That's where my love of Graham Potter came from. And that's also where my admiration and love for Eddie Howe comes from as well, because I thought he was washed, if I'm honest. I thought he was washed up. When he left Bournemouth and didn't take the Celtic job, remember he was linked with the Celtic job? Didn't take it. I was like, what is he holding out for? He's been out of the game for too long to come back and make an impact. I thought he was washed. What he is doing, as you said, I echo that, is nothing short of unbelievable. And I too believe that even if Arsenal do go on and win this league, that he should be getting manager of the year just because of where they came from. Arsenal, we finished 8th and 5th, and now we're putting on a decent charge. But Newcastle, as you said, they were bottom. They were going to be going down. And what I love is that this money has come in.
And won, have they? Won a game.
Rock bottom.
They were done. They were done. So, like, the fact that he's then come off the back of that, and you said shrewd signings, and I agree that, like, the Isak signing was quite expensive, but other than that, they have not been splashing, and he is dealing with the cards that he's got, and he's got players in there
Trippier.
that were half decent that
Trippier.
he's making better as well. Longstaff, can we talk about him for a moment?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he was gone and done and dusted, and he's been an integral part of that midfield this season. And I think he deserves some credit as well. They addressed the goalkeeper situation because they've had decent goalkeepers over the time, but no one is going to come in and say, no, I'm commanding my box right now. And Nick Pope is doing exactly that.
Signing of the season, Nick Pope.
And Gav, they've let in 21 goals in 29 games.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what I'll say is this. Fabian Schär, I thought, was absolutely shocking as a defender. Right?
Did you? No, I liked him.
No, well, even I think if there's Newcastle fans in the chat, I can see him in there. If I'm not wrong, I think I remember a lot of Newcastle fans saying this guy is anyway. Plus, Dan Burn, who was a very unfashionable type of player. I remember Spurs in the window saying, "I'd like Spurs to get a player like Dan Burn, steady, does his job, can go centre half, left back," and Spurs fans were having none of it. But to do that with Dan Burn, Schär, Botman in his first year in the league, and I think that is phenomenal. 21 goals conceded.
The only issue with Newcastle is they're not finding the back of the net often enough. They've drawn way too many games. And if you convert half of those draws into wins, we'll be talking about a three-way title race right now.
Do you not think that's because of the over-reliance on playing Wilson when I think he should have picked Isak a lot sooner? He seemed to pick Wilson and then Isak come off the bench, didn't he? But Isak
sometimes
that goes back to
time to gel though.
That goes back to Bournemouth. That does. I think that goes back to Bournemouth because he had Callum at Bournemouth for a long time.
But also,
and you know what, you lads,
just come over. He was, had to get to maybe in training he wasn't up to the level of pace.
Hang on, didn't he pick up an injury? Didn't he pick up a really bad injury? He did in like his first 4 or 5 games as well.
Yeah, didn't he score at Liverpool and then get injured in that game or a game later?
I remember something.
But he'd been fit for like 6 weeks. I mean, when they were in that little bit of a dip in form, would you say he was on the bench all the time, and I just couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand why they weren't bringing him on. The other thing about Howe, though, Gav, and I will say this, I've said this before, what he did when he left Bournemouth, instead of doing the media work and going, doing the circus as they all do, the guy went away. He went away to Juventus, he went away to Atletico Madrid, and he went to Liverpool, and he studied. He watched each manager, and he learned bits and pieces from all of them. And I think when you watch him play this season, there is a bit of that style in every game he does. When he shuts up defensively, that has got Simeone written all over it. He frustrates teams and makes them break so that they can hit. So
game that when they came to the Emirates, that was probably the hardest game of football I've ever watched. It was hard work because he sat there and frustrated for 90 minutes, finished 0-0.
Which made Reece Nelson's goal probably the Premier League moment of the season. Because and the thing is, see, with me and Eddie Howe, right, I lived and worked in Bournemouth for nearly 28 years, right? I got a job down there. So I know the Bournemouth football community really, really well, And the Bournemouth story, I think there are very few miracles in football. I think Leicester City winning the league is one. Nottingham Forest winning the European Cup twice is one. Ipswich Town winning the league in the 60s. Wimbledon winning the FA Cup, but AFC Bournemouth, what you have to remember about AFC Bournemouth was that at one point there was 17 points deducted and clear at the bottom of what is now League Two. So from the bottom of League Two to the richest sporting competition in the world in
Aaron
8
Anderson
years.
scored the goal that kept him up, didn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. So the way I look at it is that, to me, the greatest manager of all time is Brian. And if Brian was here now and you said to Brian, right, pick a manager that you admire, Brian would go, young Edward Howe at Newcastle. I think he's wonderful. And I'll tell you something, Eddie Howe, right, I love Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe conducts himself perfectly.
I think,
Speaks fluent.
He's great in front of the media.
He speaks intelligently. He speaks fluently. He doesn't talk, he's not obviously this and obviously that. Listen to Eddie talk. How could those lads at Newcastle not be inspired by him? He's got Jason Tyndall helping him. I think Eddie Howe is the best English football coach in the world, right? The best.
Why don't you
Absolutely.
like Eddie Howe, though? Think about it. He's the only person tonight you've two named.
Oh my
Why
God!
Why isn't it Eddie?
Can I just say, oh look, let's just split that hair, Savva. Savva, you're like a very, very fine blade, mate. Eddie, let's go back to Eddie. Sorry.
I was sitting there thinking,
the thing is, do you know what? Now you've mentioned
why is he
it,
two
Sam.
naming him?
I sound like really patronising most of the time. I do
apologise. I love it.
But no, honestly, I tell you what, we went to Newcastle, first game of the season, right? So I can only go on my own experiences. I've seen Newcastle twice, and I've been really impressed on both occasions, right? Yeah. We went to St James's, first game back in the Premier League for 23 years. We're Nottingham Forest. We know it's going to be tough. We don't know how tough it's going to be. And then 90 minutes later, we're all coming back from St James's Park thinking, right, now there's a reality check for you. They were fantastic. Guimaraes was out of this world. And then they came to us a few weeks ago on my birthday, funnily enough, and they didn't leave me a present because they won 2-1. And again, Trippier was fantastic. Isak was fantastic. Guimaraes. I think the two most improved football teams in the Premier League are Arsenal and Newcastle United, because Arsenal came from a certain level. They're way above that now. Newcastle, go back to Newcastle under Steve Bruce, right, and compare that to what you're getting now. And I think what
Newcastle have been through the ringers, haven't they? Let's be honest. The last
We say Man United have had issues, but Newcastle have had a bad time.
Christ, they had Joe Kinnear in charge at one point. You couldn't pronounce his own player's name.
We had him as well, Dan, and he's still regarded as
child insomnia. The guy was kept giving.
I think the thing is as well is I love, like you said, Dave. I like the way he's conducted himself through all of this.
And a gentleman, mate.
I think I looked the other week at the transfer spends, and I look like, obviously I compare it from a Spurs fan point of view, and him and Conte had the exact same amount of time before Conte was mutually agreed to leave. They both had the same amount of transfer windows. Spurs had spent more money than the Newcastle, and then I just looked at what he had done at Newcastle.
West Ham as well.
Yeah, but I looked at what he had done at Newcastle compared to what we are, and just chalk and cheese. A team that can defend without spending hundreds of millions on defenders. A team that can attack really well without spending. I mean, who they spent big on?
Isak
was 60, wasn't he? 60, yeah.
Joe Linton was 45 million. But that was a dodgy signing. It turned out all right in the end.
But this is what I mean. When you look at Pope,
he never plays centre forward when he's in Germany. I don't understand it.
Steve Bruce for you, Gav.
when you look at Pope, when you look at Trippier, Byrne, Botman, Guimaraes, these aren't huge fees in the modern day of football. So I think what he's done has been absolutely sensational. Gav, do you need to jump?
Yeah, I need to run because I need to put at least 10 minutes on the board before I do my thing. I delayed him to our fate, but just a little quick one on Villa as well. I don't want to take it away, but like Villa, I think have been brilliant.
We're going to talk about him now.
And,
ever since the man that is Steven Gerrard was going to run the show.
Exactly.
I love watching that man get sacked.
It's silly. But like, the resurgence of Ollie Watkins has been nothing short of special.
Yeah.
And John McGinn. John McGinn's really
I love John McGinn anyway. He knows how to slap one from 25.
Douglas Luiz.
We got linked with him in
Tyrone Mings as well.
And everyone took the mick out of me when I said I want him at Arsenal, and now look what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like if he moves on elsewhere, you're probably going to be looking north of £50 million now. But and his missus is banging. He's going out with Lehman. She's so fit. Anyway, but no,
I'll check that out.
Villa, I think they've got every chance, and that I do believe that they will get Europa League football next year, and I think they deserve it for their turnaround. So,
well, we're going to talk about them now. So, can you get off the screen?
I'm going to give a quick prediction, and a quick plug. Quick prediction. Where is the game actually? Is it at Villa Park?
It's at Villa Park.
At Villa Park. One apiece. the Bundesliga show is where you can find me chatting stuff about Bundesliga football. Much love.
Good man. Get over there and smash a like and a subscribe for Gav. Listen, dude, I'll speak to you on WhatsApp.
Take care. All the best.
Good
guys.
luck with the darts.
All the best, Gav.
Cheers. Ta-da.
Take care, mate.
Just before we talk about Unai Emery and Aston Villa, loves music, always a big supporter of the channel. Has said Eddie Howe is an Arsenal fan. Well, listen, everyone's got to have that one thing about them that we hate, and that can be Eddie Howe's. But thank you very much for the support. Some bloke has said a grown-up, sensible, balanced, objective panel. Good guests here.
Some bloke, can you send that to my wife, please? Because I've never been called grown up by her. She's anything but. Savva will know that from our WhatsApp exchange on a Saturday.
I won't tell them about the Jose chat we had.
No.
And big up to Albert J TV in the chat as well. I hope you're all right,
great bloke, Albert.
Albert's having a night off tonight. What a guy! What a guy!
Absolute legend. What a gentleman, Albert.
Love him. Absolutely love him.
As Peter says, guys, Peter Simon's here. Big up Peter. He's always in the chat. Said Villa have improved almost as much as Newcastle. And I've got a few quick stats that I prepared just because, the life of a YouTuber, just non-stop. He's managed 17 Premier League games, Unai Emery, and he's won 11 of them, right?
Wow.
He's lost only 3 games. He's beaten Chelsea, Liverpool, Spurs, and United. Yeah. He's got the 4th highest points of any manager in the... third highest points of any manager, and the 2 managers with more points since he joined are Arteta and Pep. He's got Ollie Watkins has scored 10 goals in 11 games.
In the Prem?
In his last 11 games, Ollie Watkins has got 10,
I didn't know that.
10 goals. And he's taken them from 17th when he arrived to 7th and European places. Now, guys, if we're going to talk about how well Eddie Howe's done, there's new manager bounces, but a new manager bounce isn't normally 17 games, half a season. A new manager bounce isn't half a season. A new manager bounce is, we've had 3 or 4 wins, and now we're going to go back to being crap, right?
True.
That's phenomenal, isn't it? With a defence of Mings, Konza, Ashley Young, who's 107 now.
Moreno,
people like Watkins who weren't scoring goals. And Dan, what a job he's done there, right?
Yeah, I think the first thing for me that he did that I really respected about him was the whole Martinez thing. He did not like the way Martinez had reacted after Argentina win the World Cup and said, he's going to have to really prove himself, his character to me when he comes back. I think this is the thing. People look at the top 4 and that's all they look at for who's doing a great job. The guys come in and this guy, Gerrard, this myth that he was a great coach. He's future Liverpool manager. He's going to do everything. That was the epitome of manager bounce. Gerrard come in, had a little bit of bounce with them, and then they were just absolute dog crap. They were dog crap towards the end of the season, and then they continued it this season. The thing with Emery, I think, is, and I feel for Emery because he always gets mocked for the way he talks. He is a fantastic coach. People forget what he's done in his career. He has won some big competitions. So I think the way you've got to look at it, like the players you've mentioned there, he's got a group of players that, let's be honest, there are a lot of players there you'd say are coming to the end of their careers. A lot of players that were so far out of form, I couldn't understand how they were getting minutes there, let alone anywhere else. So I think what he's done there has been phenomenal. He set them up in a way that you can see there's an understanding. Under Gerrard towards the end, they were drifting out of position. They were looking to the bench half-time, didn't know what they were doing. He's brought a lot of discipline in the way they play. So I think it's been unreal. I mean, the stat about Ollie Watkins is unreal. I didn't realise that.
And they're 8 unbeaten in the league, which is 7 wins and 1 draw.
That's unreal.
This is a team, as I said, they've got Konza and Mings at centre half. Right, that is a phenomenal job that he's done there. And the thing is, Dave, look, obviously it's got to be carried on next year, and I think then people will start buying into it more. But if this guy comes into Villa, picks them up from 17th and gets European football, I don't care if it's the Conference League. This is Villa, who I don't know if anyone can tell me in the chat, when was the last time Aston Villa played European football?
Oh, Probably in the.
Was it? Oh no, like the late noughties, wasn't it, with Martin O'Neill?
Yeah, maybe, or maybe the 90s, but not for a long time.
I know they were in the Europa. That was back when they had Downing, Milner, Barry, Petrov, didn't they? I think Martin O'Neill.
They some good players. Yeah.
They consistently finished sixth, didn't they, for like 3 seasons, and then Martin O'Neill resigned.
And they had the goal machine, Gabby Bonlahor up front as well.
I hate that man.
Terrible pundit. Terrible pundit.
But
would you say, guys, if he gets them a European spot of any kind, that is one of the best new manager beginnings that you've seen?
Yeah.
Because Aston Villa, everyone was talking about Gerrard's going to get them relegated. Amazing job.
Sav, I've seen, like most of these clubs now, apart from 8 clubs, I've seen everybody twice. I've seen Villa twice. And where I start with Villa is they came to us. We lost 4-0 on October the 3rd to Leicester at the King Power when we were bottom. The 2 of us were at the bottom. We were shocking. Steve got given his contract on the Friday after that appalling effort on the Monday night. And then the next game we played was the following Monday, and we played Villa at our place. And we wanted a same manager bounce because ours had been kept in his job, mainly by the 3,300 souls at the King Power who shouted for Steve Cooper's name, which I was one, right? I sang my heart out that night. And we looked at Villa that night and we drew 1-1. And in our context, at the time, a point was a good point. Any point at that time was great for us because we were on a shocking run. Yeah. But then as the dust settled, we kind of started to think, you know what? Maybe Gerrard is the emperor's new clothes, and maybe we missed an opportunity there because Villa were really, despite them dominating possession like most teams do against us, like Dan will on Sunday against us, we felt that we missed some chances to really put Villa to the sword. So that was that version of Villa. I went to Villa last Saturday, and to be truthful, Villa, I don't think, got as near to their level on Saturday as they had been doing on this great run that they've been on. I mean, if you go back about 4 or 5 weeks ago, Sam, and you look at the show I was on with Potsy and the lads on our Not the Top Table show, you know, and we were all saying,
should be on.
Well, yeah, that actually, I'd agree with you on that, Dan. Actually, but I said at the time that the league was split into 4 sections. So the 7 at the top, the league of the really well organised. So you got at the time you got Brentford, Brighton, and Fulham, who I think have been fantastic. Then, if you like, the 9 at the bottom, and then Villa. I said at the time, Villa were in a league of their own because Villa were not going to do anything at the top, not going to do anything at the bottom. Yeah. How little I knew. I was so wrong. It's untrue. And I saw Villa last Saturday, and what I would say about our lot is that our lot played all right first half. It was 0-0 at half time, and I expected us to get blown away the way Villa had been playing and the way, you know, if you like, the philosophies that Unai Emery has put into place. But then what happened was second half, Villa came up. We gave them a gift, and then Villa just casually managed the game away from Forest. And like Villa made a routine 2-0 win out of not playing as well as they had done previously. And I think that sums up where Villa have got to. I think what he's done there. Just look at the stats. Have you produced a catalogue of stats there, mate? And you know, a lot of the time, there's is it lies, damn lies, and statistics, but a lot of the time they tell the truth. And what he's done from 17th when Gerrard left to this now, I think it's 6th actually.
Dave, please don't say when Gerrard left. He was sacked, mate. He was sacked. We're not letting him have that. He was sacked.
Guys, do you know what, Dan? Sorry, do you know what, Dan? I was going to say about him. I kind of think I've always kind of quite liked Gerrard, right? And I thought that
you can't stand him, mate, because you're not saying his first name. You can't stand him. You can't stand him.
You don't like him.
Do you know what? There's a rod on my back.
I was just looking. When you look at Unai Emery's another one that I don't get it. I've seen some shows in the last few days where the guy just gets so disrespected.
Unreal.
This is a serial winning manager, right?
This
is his last 10 years, right? I couldn't bother to go back further than that. In his last 10 years as a manager, right, he's played in 5 Europa League finals, winning 4 of them with 2 different clubs. He won it 3 years in a row with Seville. Like, can we comprehend that? 3 years in a row, 3 years in a row, the Europa League, which is about 94 games from start to finish. Right? He won the final with Villarreal as well. He lost the final as Arsenal manager, but then if you look at the Arsenal team that played that day and the Chelsea team they played, it was chalk and cheese in quality.
Yeah.
This is a guy. Obviously, he's won the cups in the league in France. I mean, that will always get water because it's PSG in France, right? But what he's done is sensational. Now, if he does this, so why doesn't he get a bigger job? Is my question. Why have none of the world's big clubs come in for him?
I think it probably goes back to perception again.
Yeah,
like Dan rightly said that Unai gets mocked for the way he speaks and all this kind of. It's amazing how.
But being polite, he's polite.
Yeah. And that is exactly right. I think Unai Emery. I remember when he came in, and I thought he would struggle because the language barrier, from a professional point of view, might maybe not allow him to get his message across. But I'm wrong, because that message is getting across. If you speak to some of the Arsenal, you ask Potsy kind of thinks that he had a rough ride at Arsenal and he should have got treated better.
Yeah.
So and Emery, I listen to him, and I just, when I sit there, I just think, what a nice guy. I'd like to play football for him if I was a younger guy. And I think he comes across well. I think he's measured. And again, it's like people just like probably take the piss out of his accent. And these people, like, my view is, if you're going to do that, walk a mile in another man's shoes and find out how he feels. You know what I mean? And I think Unai, I think
it's borderline bullying. It's borderline bullying. It
is, Dan. It is, mate.
Ridiculous.
I mean, we get it. We've had it about. We've had some people like come on our chats about Steve Cooper, and like he's got this vacant look on his face, and all. He's standing there with his mouth open. Yeah, but mate, his brain's working, and some of the stuff, and you're right, Dan. It is verging on trolling and bullying. My view is, the Villa in Villa Park last week. It was a beautiful scene. The sun was shining. It was packed house. Villa weren't great, but they did the job. They got their 3 points. The atmosphere around Villa Park, and I was looking away to my left at the Holt End, was fantastic. They are unified, like Newcastle unified. You know what I mean? And I think what he's done is fantastic. I've nothing but admiration for him.
But even then, look, like this stinks of his 22 game unbeaten run at Arsenal. The underlying statistics suggest it will fall apart eventually. But why?
Savva, have you noticed how the cynics all believe that they are seeing things that the rest of us don't see? Have you noticed?
No, I hear that. But the point is, even if there's some underlying things, why, when someone is flying high, can we not celebrate the wrong word? Why can we not praise that? Why do we have to go, but? Why is there always a but? Listen, I don't support Villa. I don't care if Villa get into Europe or not. But as a football fan, looking from the outside,
spot on, Sav.
I wonder if there are any Villa fans out there going, "Oh God, I wish we hadn't have got Emery."
None. There were 42,000 last week, Sav. All agreeing with you, mate.
Yeah.
In Villa Park last week.
So look, for me, just quickly a score prediction: Newcastle at Villa tomorrow lunchtime.
I hope Newcastle drop points. We desperately need them to drop points. So I'm a hopeful 2-2, but I don't know. I'll go. I'm going to stick 2-2.
Perfect, Dave.
The bugger from Manchester's read my mind. I'm going for a really. I think this is the game of the weekend. If I was a neutral and I wasn't Forest, this is the game I'd want to watch. I think Villa are terrific. I think Newcastle are terrific. If you're a football fan, it's a game to really enjoy. And I think an entertaining, back and forth 2-2 draw.
Should be a good game.
Yeah. Cracking.
Guys, we'll go through a couple of the other games just quickly for another 15, 20 minutes if you guys are all right for that time.
Yeah, loving it.
I don't want to spend half an hour.
To you.
All right. Thank you. The wife's out, so somebody's got to talk to me. Man City versus Leicester. Now, normally, when a manager is sacked or mutually agrees to leave, or when a manager goes, the first thing people say is, that new manager bounce. However, most managers' first game isn't away at Manchester City.
I can't understand why Dean Smith hasn't said, I'll take the job next week. If you just
yeah.
work out the backroom staff first, I just need to work all that out.
Can anybody put an argument together for how Leicester City do go to Man City and A, stop Erling Haaland, and B, stop, I can't bother to list all their players, the rest of them. Can anyone put up an argument, or is this going to be another one of their 3-4-5-0 resounding victories?
This is the Premier League. Anything happens in the Premier League, doesn't it? I mean, that's the only argument I can put up. That's the only
argument I can come up with. Yeah,
it's the Premier League. Anything can happen. Now, I mean, on paper,
coming up with a Roy the Rovers scenario, are you?
Yeah. I mean, exactly that. Look, on the face of it, I mean, Christ Almighty, it's good. I really fear for Leicester. You know, again, a team that you'd have to say were on the cusp of Champions League 2 years ago could potentially be playing in the Championship with West Ham next season. So I don't know. I just can't see how they get anything from this. Unless Haaland, Alvarez, De Bruyne, Grealish go out on a night out, get arrested and chucked in the cells for a weekend. I can't see how it happens.
That's all right. No, then they'll just play Alvarez, Haaland. The thing about it, I'm just looking at the league table now, Dave. And when you look at Man City have got 75 goals, so that they're nearly at 3 goals a game. And on top of that, we can't talk about Man City without talking about Erling Haaland. And what's made me laugh, I think we touched on this the other night, Dave, when in the football throwdown. It was so funny that this is the mind of football fans, right? I'm going to sum up all football fans with this little story. All of last year, even though Man City won the league with 93 points, was Man City got to get a striker, right? Man City go and get the striker, not just a striker. They go and get a beast of a striker who has scored 45 goals in all competitions so far. And all season, all you've heard is, it's ruined Man City, this has. Bringing in a striker. They're not the same team. They can't play fluidly. Now what I think we've seen is, at first, obviously, Man City had to get used to Haaland, and Haaland had to get used to Man City. Yeah. That has well and truly clicked.
I'll go one more than that. I don't think it was Man City that had to get used to him. I think it was a Mr. De Bruyne that had to get used to him. Yeah. And now he's got used to him.
Yeah. Great point.
Oh, my God, it's just terrifying.
But it made me laugh, though, that all the same people that were saying they've got to buy a striker, it's now, they're not the same City with a striker. No. 45 goals, Dave. And we're on April the 14th.
45 goals pocketed by Luke Shaw at Old Trafford. I'll just say that. I'll just say that.
And can I also add that when he came to the City ground, we got a 1-1 draw, and he was actually really poor against us at the City. Although I go back to August, they beat us 6-0, and all I'll say about Erling, he came off that night, and we all went, "Great, he's going." All the Forest fans were in there, and we didn't leave when it was 6-0. We were still there singing our hearts out. I'll just say that for the Forest fan base, who were fantastic. But Haaland went off, and my mate goes, "He's going off." We all went, "Oh, thank God for that." Replacing Erling Haaland is Kevin De Bruyne. We all shut ourselves again. And then he got the Man of the Match award that night at the Etihad as he went off. And I looked around, all the Forest fans were applauding him. It was just bizarre.
He's a cheat code. He's a bloody cheat code, that bloke is.
Yeah, you're right, he is. I tell you what, I mean, you look at what they did to Bayern Munich the other night. I thought that would be a really difficult game for City, and they made it look a breeze. And
Didn't they? They literally made it. They literally made it like it was like a Leicester City had turned up for a midweek game.
I'd like to see Upper Meccano's betting history personally, because Upper Meccano that night, I couldn't believe what I was watching from him.
He was like Meccano falling apart back in the day. You know what I mean? All I would say is if Manchester City can get Sadio Mane to punch Leroy Sané, then that is influential and impactful. And as for tomorrow, you lads, I was listening to you lads talking about the possible Leicester City manager bounce tomorrow. It ain't happening.
No,
and I'm not saying that. Can I just say as well, for anybody who's Leicester City fans looking in, I have nothing against Leicester. I've been on several of their channels. I've got great friends who are Leicester City fans. I don't do this because they're Leicester. I have to hate them because I'm Forest. I don't do any of that. But I just think with Leicester City, I think their great cycle is coming to an end. I think what they did when they won the league, we were championship of the teams at the time, so it wasn't really an axe for me to grind at that particular moment in time. But for them to be 5,000 to 1 and to beat all the big guns to win the league, I thought was amazing. I was rooting for them all the time. And then to win the FA Cup against Chelsea was fantastic. I just think that, like with us, we had our great cycle in, 2 great cycles, if you like, late 70s and then later 80s when we won some trophies. And then our cycle came to an end. And then it took a while for it to come back. But I think Leicester City's halcyon age, if you like, and it has been, is coming to an end. Jamie's at the end of his career. There are others in there that are coming to the end. I think Tielemans will go. I think James Maddison is going to be coveted, probably by Newcastle or maybe Manchester United. I don't know, people like that.
Yeah.
So I just think with Leicester, I think it's a case that I fear for Leicester. And I don't do it because I'm a Forest fan. I just fear for Leicester that history seems to be against them. And I think, if you ask me, if you put me on the spot at the moment, I think the 3 to go down are us, Southampton and Leicester, because we are the 3 most vulnerable looking teams, I think, at the moment.
Well, let's have a look at Leicester's fixtures then. So they've brought in Dean Smith, right, as interim. Yeah. So Leicester City have got this they've not won. By the way, of course, their last win was against Tottenham. Of course it was. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on the bounce, 8 defeats and 1 draw. And the draw was against 10 men Brentford. But their fixtures are this. So they've got Man City tomorrow. I'm not giving them anything.
Not Scooby.
They've got Wolves at home. Then Leeds away. Then Everton at home, Fulham away, Liverpool at home, Newcastle away, West Ham at home.
That's a good chance of staying up. That is, I think that's
they've got a lot of teams in and around them, right?
But I tell you what, if you look,
they've got West Ham, Everton, Leeds, and Wolves. Four of the teams in that bottom 8, they've got. I can't see them picking up anything at Newcastle, if I'm honest, because Newcastle, second last game of the season, will be desperate for top 4. I can't. Can they beat Liverpool at Leicester? I don't know.
No.
West Ham at the end of the season, I'd love it. I'd love it if they beat them. And I just, God,
mate, and set them down.
Yeah, that's the dream.
The thing is, though, I was talking to the lovely Sam Davis from the Back of the Net podcast, who Bournemouth, excellent guy, Sam, and they went to the King Power last week, and we were on with Potsy the other night, and Dan came straight to the point. He said Leicester are the worst team Bournemouth have played this year. He said they went to the King Power expecting it to be tricky because it's an away game and it's a relegation 6-pointer, and Billy obviously scored the winner, but the Bournemouth fans came away thinking, we could have won that 4 or 5. They could not believe how timid and tepid Leicester City were, and I think it just comes back. They may prove me wrong. There are 8 games. Really, in any prediction we make, we're being hasty because it's almost a quarter of a season still to go. It's a big chunk of games.
Yeah.
But the portents and the omens around Leicester City just don't feel great. I think we're actually in a slightly better position than Leicester City because Nottingham Forest were the first team into the relegation dogfight when they won at Wembley against Huddersfield last year, right? We were the first team to know that we were fighting relegation. Now, Leicester City, as you've talked about, Savva, had pretensions that were higher than ours, like West Ham United, like Wolverhampton Wanderers. Some of these teams really should not be down there. They are massively underachieving. So,
massively.
Leicester City have had to kind of completely change their mindset for being, like you say, thinking about Europe and top 6 and all that. Now they're having to deal with a situation that you could say about Leicester, West Ham and Wolves, who are all still in it, that they're the ones that the epithet too good to go down really hurts them.
Yeah.
You cannot say that about Nottingham Forest, AFC Bournemouth, Southampton. Everton you could perhaps chuck in. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So
Everton have never been relegated from the Premier League.
No. But Leicester City...
Is there six, I think there's six teams that have never gone down. Spurs, Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, Everton, and there's one other, right?
Villa.
No,
not Villa.
Not Villa.
Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at it, I mean, when you look down there now, I mean, the points gap. Let's look. Southampton are a little way off on 23 at the bottom. Leicester up to West Ham. So the next 6 are all separated by 5 points.
Yeah.
West Ham, if they get a win against Arsenal, which is playing hypothetical here, go to 33. And I think that will be enough. Not 33 on its own, but I think they'll have enough momentum then to stay up, because you're going to get to the stage where I don't think to survive, too many of them are going to need too many wins, because they're
down. Lowest amount of points needed to stay up, because this year there's nobody that's cut adrift. Last year Norwich were gone before like January. This year, I mean, if I'm going to take some crumbs of comfort about my lovely club, who I love dearly, is that we're not out of it. We should be, really. You know, we signed 30 players. We've had a ruck of injuries. We've got a rookie manager with a rookie team in the hardest league in the world. Nottingham Forest should be long dead and buried, but we're not.
No.
And I just think that the fact that, you know, we were favourites to go down. We were the last in with the shortest amount of preparation time. Then we had to completely build a new squad. If Cooper if we finish 17th, and I always said, somebody said to me, do you think Forest will stay up? And I was like, I was never really sure. I certainly wasn't saying 9th or 10th like a lot of them. Then I think Coops has to be in the conversation for manager of the year just to get more. But I just think if you look at Leicester, you compare, I think there's an aura about Leicester, a vibe about Leicester that isn't as kind of, I mean, our vibe isn't great because we know where we are. We know what we're facing. You know.
How many do you think are in danger? Right. So basically,
5.
Chelsea in 11th from 39. I'm pretty sure Chelsea are not going to get relegated. Palace have then got 33.
They're all right.
Right. And then Wolves 31, West Ham 30, Bournemouth 30. Are we saying Crystal Palace probably need 2 more wins out of their last 9 games, and
probably one, Sav. Probably only the one, mate.
Even one to get them to 36.
Palace have got a really good run in as well, haven't they? They've only got
they've got the best. They've got the best run in.
So Palace, Southampton, Everton, Wolves, West Ham. So they've literally their next 4 games are against 4 clubs, all in the bottom 6.
And us on the last day, Sav.
And then you on the last day. Their hardest game, not saying it's is going to be us at our ground. But that won't be the game they're targeting to think.
No.
That's where we're picking up points.
I think Palace are safe. If they win at Saints this week, then I think Palace are safe. And I think Palace are safe.
Are Wolves safe?
I think they've got enough quality. That goal that Nunes scored last week against Chelsea, and I think Lopetegui will keep them up. They're fine.
They've got Brentford at Wolves tomorrow. Wolves versus Brentford tomorrow. If Wolves win that, they go on to 34 points. And then that would then mean that Forest and Everton down there on 27 need to pick up a minimum of 2 wins and a draw if Wolves didn't pick up another single point. It's asking a lot, isn't it? It is. It's asking a lot. But look, guys, I don't want to go around circles too much. Just really quickly, what are we going? Leicester, Man City score prediction.
4-0.
Oh,
Dan?
God.
Come on, Dan. Bite the bullet, son.
I'm gonna go 5-1.
I think we're gonna see 6, and I think minutes permitting, I think Haaland will get a hat-trick, but he must get infuriated. He sometimes gets a brace, doesn't he? And then Pep goes, right, come on.
The worst one, the 5, wasn't it? And Pep did that so he didn't take the Messi record. 100%.
Can you imagine? You're on 5 goals. You're thinking every time he had a shot, it was going in. And the manager holds up your number. You're going, You bastard.
The only good thing for us, lot, I suppose, about Haaland is, let's be honest, he won't be in the Premier League in 2 years. I think he's another one that'll go. He'll want to go to another country and do it in another country.
Oh, I think he's got Real Madrid written all over it, isn't it?
100%.
Have you ever seen a debut season like this? Doesn't have to be a centre forward, but a season from a player in their debut where everyone is going, look at this machine. Like, it's phenomenal, isn't it?
The only one I would go to, right, and the best debut season I've seen in the Premier League. I mean, Erling Haaland, fantastic, but I've got to say N'Golo Kante for Leicester when they won the league that year, because he came from nowhere.
I was going to go Papa Cisse for Newcastle. Do you remember when he come that season and scored just unreal goals, and that goal against Chelsea from how the hell? But I mean, there's no one better, is there, than Haaland? 45 goals is just They've still got like 12 games. Well, 12 or 13 games potentially left. It's not fair.
Yeah. It's mad, isn't it? I mean, look, do we all agree that he's going to go past the 50 mark, isn't he?
Oh, yes.
Can we see him getting 60? So that's 15 goals from 8. Hang on, how many Premier League games have Man City got? So Man City have got 9 league games left. They've got definitely one more in the Champions League. You would say definitely 3 more, right? Unless Bayern spanked them 4-0. So they've definitely got 3 more Champions League games. That's 12. They've definitely got an FA Cup semi-final against Sheffield United. That's
It'll be a final because Sheffield United have got 3 of their players on loan and can't play them. So
Doyle and McAtee are both good. I think the game that might define. I think they'll play Real Madrid in the semi-final. Those 2 legs against Real Madrid. We'll see what Erling Haaland does then. If Erling Haaland tears Real Madrid apart, then there's no doubt about it. And then if he does it in the final. 15
games. Hang on, let's work this out. 9 league games. FA Cup semi, FA Cup final.
16, I think.
Bayern Munich, semi, final. 16 games if Man City were to get to the final of everything. Would we pretty much say they're definitely going to get to the FA Cup final against Sheffield United? Right, okay. So 16 games to get 15 goals to hit 60 in your debut season. Is he going to get 60?
Based on what he's done already, yes, he is.
And if we look at Man City, so we're going to go, he'll probably grab at least 2 tomorrow. Their fixtures, let's see. So let's take Bayern out. He'll Arsenal, Fulham, West Ham, Leeds. Oh, it doesn't matter. Does it matter who City are playing?
It doesn't, does it?
It doesn't.
You when we started this show, Sav, you came up with a great phrase about trophy mode, and it's trophy mode and business end. And I think, for everybody in this league, when City were having their sort of stutters and stumbles a bit earlier in the season, everybody kind of thought, it will click into gear when it matters the most, and that is what Manchester City have that sets them apart from the rest of the Prem. And I hope eventually it sets them apart from the rest of Europe, because I think they need that Champions League. I really do.
I think they're going to win it. I do. I watch Real Madrid, and people can say, their heritage in the Champions League, they come alive. But I've watched a lot of Real Madrid this year in La Liga, and they're not the best defensively. No. And I just think over 2 games, Haaland and co might fill their boot. I can see them doing to Madrid at home what they did to Bayern.
Yeah, and at the risk of being controversial, chucking the way Jack Grealish is playing at the moment, absolutely superb. I mean, Phil Foden. I mean, it's brilliant management or coaching or whatever at Manchester City. You lose Phil Foden, who's been a staple and a good staple in that side.
Yeah.
And Jack, who, Jack was bit part player last year, and now Grealish is playing absolutely out. A guy who everybody thought was so individual and so unique in the way he plays the game that he couldn't fit into a team like City or couldn't do. Jack fits in perfectly. He's a joy to watch at the moment, that lad. And you've got Gundogan, solid as you like. He can move John Stones forward and make John Stones a better player.
I tell you what.
He could put me up top and I'd get 20 goals. He's that good, isn't he, Pep? He can do anything.
Yeah.
What Pep Guardiola has done with this kind of he let Cancelo go, who was his left back. He's dropped his right back, Walker. And it's like, I've said it so many times, I feel like Pep gets bored and has to reinvent something. And this whole 3 at the back, stroke 4 at the back, but John Stones joining Rodri, and I love it. I think
I do.
What a formation, because it leaves you with 4 centre-backs on the pitch.
Yeah.
It allows you to have 2 holding midfielders at the same time.
Yeah.
And it allows all of their forward players to just...
And Sav, I wouldn't have thought of it. Nobody in football has thought of it, apart from Pep Guardiola. I do think with Pep, right, I mean, he's an extremely clever guy. He's a great coach. He's a deep thinker about the game. I think sometimes, and I'll go back to the Champions League final of a couple of years ago, I thought he overthought it. He overcomplicated it. But I think what he's done, I mean, John Stones was interviewed the other night, and they asked him about playing further forward. And John Stones went, well, I'm learning new things as I go along, and it's fantastic. And the way I think what he's done with Grealish, because I think people have said he'll never get Grealish to fit in or whatever, has been fantastic. I think class. I saw them that night at the Etihad when they beat us 6, and it was like, I came away thinking, well, that was a privilege to watch, even though it was my lot getting thumped. Yeah. Right. I came away thinking, I've seen
football is good football, right?
They're fantastic. And the other thing he's doing, Sav, the other thing Pep's doing, he's not neglecting bringing young lads in. Cole Palmer, Rico Lewis. Yeah. These lads are good. What he's done with, everybody said, he should be playing Foden more. He handled Phil Foden beautifully. Do you know what I mean? So I think he's a great coach, and they're a great team. They're the best team on the planet for me.
I'd hate to interview him, though. I'd hate to interview him. Oh my God.
But what more than Michael Elise?
What I love about it, though, is, we can talk about how much money he spends, but that's natural. If you manage the best clubs in the world, you're going to spend money. Everyone spends money. Ten Hag, if he's at Man U for the next 5 years, will spend hundreds and hundreds of millions. Chelsea will spend hundreds of millions. Newcastle will get it, right? But what I love is, you can buy anyone you want with money. Yeah. Not everyone can make them play the football that Pep makes them play. So when people go, it's easy when you've got that money. All right, so why don't all the other clubs that are owned by billionaires all play City style of football?
We spent 100. Nottingham Forest, I think after maybe 2 or 3 of the real big guns like Dan's lot, and maybe some of the others, Nottingham Forest were the biggest spenders, certainly in the summer. I think combined total, we spent something like 160 million, 170 million, and we're nowhere near what Manchester City.
The only transfer he got any jib for was the Jack Grealish being 100 million, but that's English tax. That's English tax.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
nobody's complaining now, Dan, are they? Do you know what I mean?
But you know what? As well, one thing, without making this sound like a Man City loving, one thing that does go under the radar. I think this was mentioned the other day, Dave, that they actually do really well in the transfer market, Man City, because they're actually starting to make money. Like when Pep moves players on, most players he will not keep for 6, 7, 8 years. When you're De Bruyne, you will. Yeah.
I'll give you an example, Sal. Nathan Ake, what a signing that's been.
I think Nathan Ake for me would be in my team of the year in the defence. I think
outstanding.
Again, though, he's not sexy. If to go back to our conversation earlier,
because he came from Bournemouth.
But you watch Nathan Ake, brilliant in the air.
Yeah.
He's very, very, very composed, very good at one-on-one defending. A lot of the time you can spring on City because they all play so high up. You watch when Nathan Ake's one-on-one, he's very good at shepherding his player. I think he's become better than Virgil van Dijk, I think. And I tell you what, I think is it Manuel Akanji? I think he's a really good player as well.
And he was
15 million.
Yeah,
you think how much did they pay? 15 million for Akanji. They paid 15 million for Alvarez.
Yeah.
Ralph Rangnick wanted Alvarez at Old Trafford, and the scouts there said no, he's not good enough. Not good enough.
But again, he's doing with Alvarez what he does with everyone. Most players go to City, and in year 1, they have to watch and learn. They'll play a game, then they'll sit on the bench for 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And everyone said last year, again, all the people that it's right nowism is what I call it. Last year, when everyone was going, Jack Grealish, what a flop, 100 million. And I turned around and I said, listen, I followed Pep Guardiola, obviously for his playing days, but from his Barcelona B days.
Yeah.
If anyone knows anything about Pep Guardiola, when he brings a player in, unless they are Haaland, who's the anomaly, right?
Yeah.
He brings them in. He did it with Leroy Sane. He did it with Mahrez. He did it with Gundogan. He did it with Silva. Rodri. He brings them in. Year 1 is this is how we play. Learn. This is what we do. Learn. Year 2, that person suddenly becomes first name on a team sheet. And all the people now that talk about Jack Grealish, all they can come up to try and put him down is, he hasn't scored 15 goals. Ask Pep Guardiola if he's bothered.
It's what he does behind the scenes as well, though, isn't it? Like little things like Scott Carson could have binned him off years ago. Keep Scott Carson there because behind the scenes, that bloke is the glue, isn't he? The lads absolutely adore him. Scott Carson, and I love the fact that every now and then he'll chuck him in for a game. Just go on, Scott. Go and do your bit. Go and do your bit.
Yeah. I reckon as a player, when lots of people, whenever you see them interviewed, if they've been managed by Pep Guardiola, will say what he does for you as a player is amazing. And I don't think you can say that of all managers. I truly don't think.
Only the great ones, Sav. Only the great ones. Only the Shankleys, the Cloughs, the Busbys, the Bill Nicholsons.
How many players do you see when he subs them off, regardless, shaking their heads and having a paddy? None of them.
No. That's a great point, Dan.
None of them.
But do you know what with that, Dan? This is where for me, when people talk about Pep Guardiola, this is why I think he's the best manager in world football. It's not only
better than Jose Savva.
We'll come to that.
Don't come to that, please.
The football he gets his teams playing, the upskilling. You think when he bought John Stones, right? When he buys Nathan Ake's, when he buys Alvarez's, the upskilling of players is second to none. But more than anything, when you have a squad of that much talent and that many bodies, it is an absolute art to juggle that throughout the season, keeping people happy, right? Not getting them come out in the press throwing temper tantrums and paddies, still winning things, and still having that hunger to go again. For me, I don't think many managers have that in them, that inner hunger to win. And what he's doing now, sorry to complete that, he's creating mini Peps.
Yeah. I was just thinking that.
Company.
Arteta, company.
You watch anyone that's been with him for X amount of time that goes into management. Yeah. You watch all of their teams will play football.
Sab, it's just like in American football where they have these coaching sort of hierarchies where Andy Reid's at the top and he had, I don't know, Shanahan working with him. And then what these lads do, they're like defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators. And then they go and get head coaching jobs. Yeah. And what you said, mate, I've never thought of it like that. And I love it when somebody introduces me to an original idea that I hadn't thought of. And what you're saying about Pep, Sam, is bang on, mate.
But the thing is, we live in a world where all people can say, it's a childish argument, is, he spends loads of money. Who doesn't? I want to know, apart from
he doesn't spend money for the sake of it, though.
No,
he spends money for where he needs to. His first season when he come in and he just his first four. Well, I think
fullbacks.
They were wing backs. He knew he needed to build from there. He did. That's the thing. A lot of managers who have money spend it because they've got it. He doesn't do that. He doesn't go out there and. I mean, again, you take the Grealish thing out of the way because that's ridiculous. Yeah, he'll go there and spend the money on what he needs and what he sees has to improve. And I think that it's a lot can be said for his transfers for that. It's not like he's going out and spending 200 million on Kylian Mbappe. City could afford it. You know what I mean? He could go and get an Mbappe if he really wanted it. He could go. Vinicius Junior. The list is endless. He could go out there. They could do it, but he doesn't. He spends the money on the players that he knows will improve the team.
So if you look, I've just looked at it, and if you actually take out Jack Grealish, City haven't spent over 65 million. Now, I know that sounds crazy because 65 million is loads. But when you look at what Barca spend on players, Man United even,
Maguire,
Real Madrid,
McCarthy,
PSG,
people like that.
none of them, other than Grealish, are over 65 million. So his sweet spot is in between 40 and 65 million. And if you noticed, other than Haaland, who, by the way, is 22, right? He never goes and buys the best player in the world in that position.
No.
So, like you said,
he buys potentially the best.
He'll go and buy, like when he bought in Bernardo Silva, quality player, but no one would have said, "Oh my God, Bernardo Silva's one of the best players in the world." He knows who can play his style, who he can coach to play his style, who's technically good enough. For me, I think again, it's when you are the best, people want to find ways to knock you down.
The one thing about players, Jack Grealish, though, I think Jack Grealish makes me laugh with Pep because he seems to get away with a lot with Pep. That you look at players in the past that have done the things like, pissed up on the stage with, with his vodka and coke. I just watched Pep and I get the feeling there is such a really good relationship between them two. Like you can tell he just trusts Jack Grealish, doesn't he?
I think
Jack Grealish
looks like a wonderful personality to have around the club and the dressing room.
100%.
And all the players look like they really like him.
Yeah, and back in the day, right, and I'm going to go right back in the day now because I think there's a parallel to the great days of my club. Cloughy used to come in and he used to see John Robertson, who's our greatest ever player. You lads might be. I don't. You might.
I know he was a winger, wasn't he?
Yeah, and like Cloughy used to say, he'd turn up in the morning, he'd sit in the dressing room, and he said, "I sit next to Robertson, and next to him I look like Errol Flynn. He's fat, he's greasy, he smokes, he has a pint, all this kind of stuff." He said, Cloughy said, "But give him a ball and a yard of grass, and he's an artist, right?" And the lads used to come in at half time. Forest would come in at half time. And the tough nut likes of Burns and Lloyd and Needham and all that, they'd go in the loo for a slash at half time, right? And there'd be smoke coming out of a cubicle. And the lads would go, "Gaffer, what's he doing in here?" And it was Robbo, and he was having a fag at half time. and none of the lads, Cloughy used to say to him, "He can have a fag because he's a better player than you are," right? And what Forest did, that great Forest team, and they're dear to my heart, and I met 2 or 3 of them, I've been very privileged. What they did, they all gave the ball to Robertson. Forest were the most balanced, unbalanced, everything went down the left. And Cloughy used to say, "We've got a little fat lad who will turn him inside." My dad went, right, when my dad joined the Forest Scouts, he went to a match at City Ground, and Forest were in the Championship, right? And they played Wolves at the City Ground on a Saturday. Wolves won 3-1. My dad came back. I was only a little lad. I said, "What were Forest like, Dad?" And my dad goes, "Hopeless. They'll never get promoted. Not while I've got a hole in my backside. They're dreadful." And he said, "You know, the worst of the lot," my dad said, "they've got this fat bloke on the left. He's terrible." And he went on he created the winning goal in Munich when we beat Malmo. And he scored the winner against Hamburg in Madrid. And he's our greatest player. So what Cloughy did with Robbo, I kind of see Pep doing with Jack.
But that's what it's all about, right? Management, that experience know what is needed. So when us as fans, obviously we're the worst. People who go on YouTube, we're the worst because we stir it up and we're like, what should we talk about? What content? And we see someone doing something like Grealish being silly, and we all go, "Oh my God, what a child! He shouldn't play, and Pep should get rid of him." Pep knows what he's doing.
Yeah, 100%.
Pep knows how to get the best out of Jack Grealish.
100% he does.
A lot of people keep saying that Grealish, he's not as good as the Grealish we saw at Villa because he's not beating 3 men and putting in the top corner. The Grealish I'm watching, I think, is a much more rounded, mature footballer.
Absolutely.
But the argument to that is that when Grealish was at Villa, everything went through him. And Grealish had to learn. Grealish had to learn at City that he's not. He wasn't. He's not
the alpha male.
Exactly. I like it when Berbatov joined United from Spurs. Berbatov come from being the boy at Spurs that it went for. He was the man. He was the thing that the player that won the games. Everything through him. He come to United and realised, actually, I'm part of 3 or 4 really good strikers here.
Yeah.
And I look at Grealish and I think it did take him time. Of course, it's going to. And I think he did struggle with the 100 million. But when you've got someone batting for you like Pep Guardiola,
Pep
Guardiola wasn't told to sign Jack Grealish, was he? Let's be honest.
No.
They didn't go to him and say, Jack Grealish, we're going to buy him 100 million, just letting you know. He wanted him, and he saw something there.
Yeah. Do you think they make any signings without Pep Guardiola saying yes?
No,
I don't believe
they wouldn't. They wouldn't. I think Sav, what you said about something we were on. I think me and you were on a show together a couple of weeks ago where it was raised about Jack Grealish had gone backwards. And I'll tell you what, mate. So that show that night, Sav, I kind of held that thought in my head, and then I watched Jack against the next game that they played. I can't remember who it was. Jack,
wasn't it Liverpool? And he destroyed.
Oh them. Yes. So I was at where was I that day? I was watching Forest that day. We were watching. I was in an executive box at Forest that day for the Wolves match, right?
Oh, name dropping. Here we
go.
Here we go.
Do you know what? Behind glass, lads, it's not the same as sitting in the open air.
No, it's not.
I've done it Old Trafford, just.
Have you done it at the Tottenham Hotspur Entertainment Community Village Stadium?
No, I haven't, mate. I just had the fish and chips there, Sam.
That's all I can crow about is that we've got the best stadium in the world. That's it.
You have, mate.
Shit at football stadium. Wow.
If your football was as good as the fish and chips I had, mate, you'd be Champions League. You've got Champions League fish and chips, but your team isn't that great.
Do you know what? We always say this. Loads of Spurs fans always say this. If the owners, let's talk about Spurs. If the owners put in everything at the stadium is the big screens, the seats,
hand dryers in the toilets,
the hand dryers, the toilet, everything is top tier.
We get puddles of piss in Old Trafford in our toilets.
If they applied that same level of ambition into football, we'd be the best team in the country. But honestly, if you go the toilets at Spurs, people come out of the men's toilets at Spurs and go, I've never seen toilets at a football stadium this clean.
I did.
They're amazing, aren't they? Dyson hand dry. It's like, just honestly,
hot water. The City Ground, we have to spit on our hands. You know.
Oh, mate, we have to wrap our shoes in bloody plastic bags at Old Trafford.
It's not.
Can I just say though?
It's
I need
not
to even it up for Dan. Sav, I've said about your fish and chips, mate. Can I just send a nice word out to the lovely lads and lasses who work at the Old Trafford away end in the East Stand? Because they do a cheese and red onion panini that is absolute dynamite, right? And can I also chuck in as well? And Botsy might be watching, and he knows where I'm going because I had the vegan pasty at the Emirates, and Arsenal was scintillating, but the vegan pasty I needed like the teeth of that fella from the James Bond film Jaws to get through it, mate. It was vegan because you couldn't eat it. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what? Honestly, our club. Every time you get an email from the club, it's we're happy to announce a new paint sponsors. We're happy to our new soap sponsors, our new 4x4 sponsors. The club shop's doing this promotion. We've just been voted like one of the top 10 attractions in the UK or something like the day at the stadium. And all Spurs fans are like, but we've still got Eric Dyer at centre back. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, You've got all this going on. We've got no centre halves, no playmakers. It's like, honestly, guys, it's infuriating because there is a section of the Spurs fan base that still crow on about, but look what Levy's done with the stadium. And it's like, I don't know about you guys. When I was growing up, the pictures on my bedroom wall were of footballers.
Yeah,
I didn't put a picture of infrastructure. Or Excel spreadsheets. Do you know what I mean? That's why when fans are going, oh, yeah, but we're financially stable for the future. So is every Premier League club.
I love the whole thing with, like, the talk about the money spent at Spurs, yet Conte pissed off Twitter on a Ryanair flight.
Oh, just
with a bag of crisps and a polystyrene cup of tea.
And he spent 17 quid on the scratch card that they come round with as well.
Is this Lewis? Is this you? Is this Lewis? Lewis, if it is Lewis, I was on a show earlier. I was on one of Spurs shows with David and Jack, the Irish Hotspur. And they did a phone-in show, and I joined in. And this young lad, Lewis, he's 14, came on. And honestly, I'm not knocking you, Lewis, if you are watching this. This kid looked like he had the stresses and woes of a man who's lost his job, got divorced, can't pay his mortgage. Through Spurs, he was like, I can't take this anymore. And I'm like, I'm 40. You're 14. There's people in this chat who have supported Spurs for 70 years, and I can't take this anymore.
Yeah,
all he's ever known is top 6 or 7.
Savva, this is the same as United fans, though. Like, I think United fans forget that United were about before the Premier League. You know, we were crap before the Premier. And like United fans now, because all they've known is the Fergie days. They're like, this is ridiculous, you know. And it's like, we got relegated. Do you know what I mean? We were poor. So
we're the opposite. We're the opposite because we've not been in the Premier League for so long. People don't know about us. We come on some of these shows, and people don't know anything about Nottingham Forest. We're the opposite. You know, if you go back, I don't know, 40 years, like Nottingham Forest. I remember when we got promoted from the second division, and we won the league at the first time of asking. I remember at Christmas that year, we went to Old Trafford, and we beat United 4-0 that day. Woodcock scored twice. There was a Brian Greenough own goal, and Robbo scored. And in them days,
how are you remembering goal scorers from the 1970s or 80s? I mean, that is.
I'm still searching for a life, Sav. Do you know what I mean? That's where I come from.
Aren't we all?
Hey, Dave, I heard a great story talking about Forest. I watched. I was listening to. I can't remember who it was on the podcast, but Mark Crossley. The story about him about being punished by Brian Clough by having to play Sunday League for his lads' team.
Yeah.
Oh my God, absolutely brilliant.
Brian's lads were obviously Nigel, as you know, played and was a terrific player for us. Nigel, no pace but great passer of the ball and good player. Simon, Nigel's elder brother, he ran a team in Derby called AC Hunters.
That's it.
And Norm. Mark Crossley, everybody knows him as Norm. He's a great character. He's a very, very funny man and a brilliant after dinner speaker and all that. He had to go and play for AC Hunters.
Brilliant.
And Brian did. I think Brian might have done it with like Norm and a few others. But I mean, Norm made his debut right for Forest at the City Ground against Liverpool, the great Liverpool team that Kenny Dalglish. You know that team that Barnsley, Ray Houghton, Beardsley, all that lot. And Norm made his debut. And Forest beat Liverpool 2-1 at the City Ground. I think Norm was only 18. And what happened when he got in at the end? Brian said to Norm, and he gave him a bit of a. He called him Shithouse. Hey, Shithouse, go and ask that lot to sign this match ball for you because it's your first game for Forest. And Norm wouldn't do it. Norm said, I'm not going to go and knock on their door. We just beat them. Go on. Anyway, Brian forced him to go, right? And Norm said he went and knocked on the door, shitting himself. Liverpool are going to have my guts. Anyway, he knocked on the door and he reckoned that like Dalglish came to the door. What do you want? And he goes, Mr. Clough, because he called him Mr. Clough, said, can you sign the match ball for me? Because it'd be first. And he said, actually, Liverpool, despite having lost at Forest, they all signed the match ball and sent him back. But Norm said, and Norm's a great guy. He said he'd never been so scared. What he did, he went halfway down the corridor and came back, and Brian saw him. He went, hey, go and ask him. Do you know what I mean? So, but like this idea of pre-Premier League and in the Premier League, I mean, if you look at talking about young lads suffering, so young Louis, bless him, it's great, isn't it great that a kid cares about his club that much? But I look at I'm 59, right?
But he'll have these soon. He'll have these kind of worry lines on his head.
I'm wearing my foundation to cover mine. I am. I've got foundation.
Do you know what?
I was just imagining the glow of you.
I've got the makeup behind me. I was there before we started tonight.
Savvy's got his own dressing room. What's going on, mate? It's like bloody Soccer AM here. But you know what? Our kids, Sav, have had nothing. I know kids are, in their 20s, in their teens. We've got some fantastic kids who come and support us, and I love them all dearly. But the poor little buggers have had nothing to crow about until Wembley last year. So it's all relative, mate. You know what I mean? But yeah.
I'll come to this question in a second. Just before I do come to that question with you, Dan. By the way, if anyone wants to ask any questions, chuck them in. Just put the letter Q in front of it, so I know it's a question and not a statement. Sometimes, if you're telling me I'm a wanker, I don't know if you're asking me if I'm a wanker or telling me I'm a wanker. Just
That was you that Saturday with me with the Jose chat.
Yeah. I was telling you. I wasn't
Honestly,
asking you.
Every time I saw a new voice note, I was like this with the phone.
I know it.
Here we go.
I told you this before, Dave. I used to work for Charlton Athletic. I don't know if I did tell you, right? And I used to coach with Colin Walsh.
Oh, great. Yeah, good lad, Walsh. Yeah.
I used to coach. I'll tell you a story about Colin Walsh, right? He told so many good stories about it. Because obviously he won loads with Cloughie at Forest, didn't he? Before he went to play for Charlton. And he made me laugh. I mean, we was at this this college where they had it was below the academy. They had a centre of excellence. So the kids that they weren't sure, they'd stay there for the term and then they'd either let them go or push them back into the academy, right? So I was coaching there, and there's always one. Look, there's always one. Don't Phil P. And so we were waiting. Got there a bit early. I got there quite early on, and Walshy walks over, bag of balls. He goes, "I'll get in goal. I'll take some penalties." All right, cool. Put my golden gloves on, stand in goal. Taking a couple of penalties. I was all right and saved a few. And I was 17, 16, cheeky as you like. I turned around and I went to him. I'm really surprised, Colin. He went, "What?" I went, "Someone told me you'd won 2 Champions Leagues playing for Cloughie. You can't even kick a football." He put the ball down on the spot, right? And oh my God, this penalty nearly took me away. No backlift, anything. And it was that point I realised, retired footballer, wow, footballers kick the ball quite hard.
They do, mate. Yeah,
he'd tell great stories about Cloughie and what it was like, and he just said you couldn't beat the camaraderie that Forest group had. He said what you saw on the telly was always Brian Clough being really strict, and he said he was a very funny man. Like in the training ground, he was the boss. He said he was the boss. He said, not like now. He said players, bear in mind, this was about 20 years ago. He said players now wouldn't get away with that sort of stuff under Cloughie.
No.
If a player had come off and threw his shirt on the floor, Cloughie would not be then playing the week after. No. Anyway, do you want to God.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sam, that what you said about Colin. I mean, he was a real good servant for Forest. I wouldn't say he was one of the best players we've ever had, but he was a good, solid player, and he never let Forest down. But you're right about Brian. The aura he created around the club. I mean, I remember
his club, right?
I mean,
But Dave, sorry, just quickly, what he did, what makes him stand out for the crowd for me was what he'd already done that at Derby.
Yes, mate. Absolutely, Sam.
This is what the Forest story on its own, you go, wow, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But then when you chuck in that he went to Derby in the what would now be the Championship, right?
Yeah.
Won them the league, then went up and won them the Premier League, if I'm right, with Derby County.
Yeah.
And he went and got what's his name from Spurs? He wasn't at Spurs at the time.
Dave
Mackay.
The great Dave Mackay, yeah.
And like, if anyone's seen the film, and it was everyone going, "Why is he brought in Dave Mackay? He's like 40 or something." And
he said he went and knocked on his door, and then he brought him, and like Dave Mackay. I mean, let's get real. Dave Mackay. I mean, in the 60s, Tottenham Hotspur were a great team. The double winning side, and then the team towards the end of the 60s, the Greavesy team, the Gilzine team, and that. But Dave Mackay was a thread through all of that, and Dave Mackay was a great player.
He was a hard master, wasn't he?
Oh, he was. If I tell you what, if Tottenham could do with a Dave Mackay right now, mate. Dave Mackay, he went and knocked on his door, and the great Dave Mackay, he wasn't the great Brian Clough at the time, and like Dave Mackay was like, "Who are you, man? What do you want? Why should I come and play for you?" And he goes, "No, hear me out." So Brian went in, we had a conversation, and then I think what happened was like what Cloughie did with a lot of the people he signed. Certainly Archie Gemmell's missus and a few others, all the wives would say, "Oh, he's such a nice man, that Brian Clough. I think you should go and play for him." And I think he might have charmed Mrs. Mackay. And I mean,
he did a John Terry. Did he do a John Terry?
In his way. But the thing is, mate, the guy who my old man used to kind of connect with at Forest when he was on the scouting staff is a great man in Forest history called Alan Hill, who was like he was Brian's chief scout, Alan. And I went to a do a couple of weeks ago where Alan was a guest speaker, and he's 80 now, Alan. He's a wonderful man. He's funny, he's erudite. and he was on about when they signed Stuart Pearce. And Brian said to him, Alan had seen him play for Coventry at the time. He went in, he said, Gaffer, I think we found one. And Brian listened to what Alan had got to say, right? He said, go and watch him, but I want you to tell me, find out if he's got any vices, right? So so Alan went to this match, and he had to be very canny around Coventry City. And he met Stuart Pearce because he knew where Stuart Pearce parked his car outside the ground. And he met him. And Alan he was in disguise, basically. He went up to Pearce and asked him for his autograph. And then kind of slipped this note into his hand and said, would you like to play for Brian Clough in Nottingham Forest? Well, Pearce went, yeah, would I ever?
Yeah.
And what happened was Pearce said to Alan Hill, he goes, I'll tell you what, I'll meet in the pub just round the corner from Highfield Road. I'll buy you a pint. At which point, Alan Hill got on the phone to Brian and said, he drinks. And Cloughie went, he drinks. So Cloughie went, get him signed, because if he's got no vices, he's got no character. Get him signed. And that was how they got Stuart Pearce. You know what I mean? So there's all it's a mythology that actually that mythology about Nottingham Forest, it being serious now, has sustained us through these fallow, barren years. You know what I mean?
Let's rattle through some of these questions. Just quickly. So I mean, Minerals has said to you, Dan. Question for the United geezer. Well, with the makeup in the background.
Proper geezer, me.
If Fergie got sacked in 1990, would United not be as successful?
No, of course they wouldn't. You look. The thing for me as a Manchester United fan is people think about what Fergie won, but people forget about what Fergie did when he come into the club. When he come into the club, He changed everything. Everything was a process. Obviously, he had some hardened times, but no, we wouldn't have won. Nowhere near. Fergie's up there, isn't he? With the things.
Oh yeah.
Dan, the sliding doors moment. Mark Robbins scoring a winner in the FA Cup at the City Ground.
Yeah.
If Forest win that, he's gone.
Let's sum this up. I mean, Minerals. Let's be before I answer this question. Minerals. There are managers that go down as greats, and what Fergie did, it wasn't the fact that he won a few league titles. A few is doing him a misservice, but it's the fact that he was there for how long? 25, whatever. I don't know. Whatever he was there for. 27 years.
27 years.
Unheard of now. Phil P, you know how much of a wanker I am. You WhatsApp me every morning telling me. I'll speak to you afterwards, sweetheart. All right.
Also, remember about Fergie. He broke the dominance between Celtic and Rangers with an Aberdeen side.
Yeah.
And he beat Real Madrid with Aberdeen. Do you know what I mean? This is
what I mean. People forget.
St Mirren before that.
Young Louis has said, I hope I don't stress, but it's the club. I haven't even seen a trophy. All I've seen is other clubs like Man U win the cups. So if you're 14, Louis, we won our last trophy 15 years ago. So you, without going too deep, if your dad is a Tottenham fan, I'm putting 2 and 2 together here. And if you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying.
When's your birthday, Louis? When's your birthday?
Louis, tell us which month your birthday. So Spurs would have won the League Cup in February or March. So if Louis is born in November or December,
that's a hell of a celebration. That
Minerals has said, Savva, have you ever met Scott Parker or Alan Kirbysley? Yeah, I used to work at Charlton, so Alan Kirbysley wouldn't have a clue who I am because he didn't really need to know anyone's name. Another one at that time, Charlton was Kirbysley. Alan Kirbysley was Mr. Charlton. He made every decision. Every player respected him. The rules at the training ground at the time were followed by players, staff, everyone, all the rules. Like, you weren't allowed your boots on in certain rooms. And players found out very quickly that that's not just there for the sake of it. You did that. So, yeah, and Scotty Parker, actually, no, I've not met Scotty Parker per se, but Scott Parker did grow up down the road from me. And Scott Parker, I don't know if anyone remembers, there was a McDonald's advert.
Yes.
Back in the day with a young blonde lad doing keepy uppies. Yeah. And that was Scott Parker before he was.
Yeah, I remember that.
And Scott Parker, his brother-in-law, is also a professional footballer. That's Harry Arter. He's married to Carly Arter, who went to school with some of my friends. Blah, blah.
Alan Kirbishley,
Boris.
does he still get linked to every job that goes? Because do you remember every job it used to be Alan Kirbishley.
Yeah, I don't know
There's
what
a Boris
happened.
connection there, Sav, as well, because Harry Arter, as far as I'm aware, is still on our books.
Wow.
Not one of our greatest signings, I have to say.
No, but they can't all be. Phil Pierce said, how cold was that Charlton training ground? But yeah, I mean, it was freezing most of the time. It's always raining, isn't it? Most of the time. But Charlton's training ground, even to this day, I live literally half a mile away from Charlton's training ground. And where we walk the dogs, it is a massive park. We walk the dogs, and the end fence overlooks into Charlton's training ground. So people go and stand there and look in. It's an old school training ground, right? This is nothing the likes of a Tottenham Hotspur or a Man City or anything. But Louis has come and said, "Where do you see Tottenham when I'm 18?" He's February the 24th, 2008. So that would have been the year we won it. So you would have been born just after we won it. Or literally the month, that would have been the month we won it, right? February 24th, 2008. If anyone in the chat can tell me what day. But where are we? Where do I see Spurs when you're 18? Probably not a lot different from today if we still plan for these owners, if I'm really honest, Louis. Himanshu said, can you guys list managers that suited the club's history and values perfectly? Currently, in my opinion, Klopp is the one whose whole view and values perfect mirror the club and the northern region even. I would say Pep at Man City. Man City is what Pep was as a player.
Yeah.
Who else?
I mean,
Eddie Howe? Too early to say?
Eddie Howe definitely, when he was at Bournemouth, he fitted with Bournemouth as a town and sort of that South Coast ethos. I mean, if you go back, I mean, you've got to look at the great managers in history, like Shanks and Bob Paisley at Liverpool, Sir Matt, Fergie, Jock Stein at Celtic. I almost feel that, like, the clubs come to reflect the guys rather than the guys reflecting the club. So I think, you know, you've got
making your own history, isn't it? Making your own legacy.
Brian, and then Bill Nicholson at Tottenham, I think, is one of the.
Would you say Birkinshaw at Tottenham as well?
That was a good side that Birkinshaw had. I wouldn't put him on the same level as Bill.
No, not the same level, but because Steve Perryman, the club record appearance holder, over 800. He goes on all the Spurs YouTube channels. He's a really good guy.
And you know what, Birkinshaw?
And he talks about Birkinshaw with glowing references.
He was a game changer, that guy, because when he signed Ozzy and Ricky Vaglia, it probably changed English football. It was the first sign of a change in English football. So Keith Birkinshaw deserves a lot of credit for that. You know, and then he built a really good Tottenham team that won 2 FA Cups, 81 and 82. Glenn Hoddle, Garth Crooks, Steve Archibald, Graham Roberts, Tony Galvin. That was a good side, that Tottenham side,
Well, here's one for you. Start with you, Dan. Best moment support. Do you know what? I'll start. Mine's going to be really easy because we're crap. Best moment supporting your club would be the 91 FA Cup final that I was at when I was 10 years of age.
I was at that
91 FA Cup final. Yeah. It was obviously the famous game where Des Walker scored an own goal. Gazza got injured in the first 10 minutes and they scored from the resulting free kick.
He should have been sent off.
But that was, he should have been. But that was the last. That's the last major trophy Tottenham won, 1991. So I'll go with that. But also, I just want to say, watching Ginola week in, week out at the Lane was a thing of beauty. And not even his football, he was just beautiful. I just loved him. I just wanted to stroke his. I love him. Dan.
I mean, the obvious one would be the treble winning season, wouldn't it? I mean, for me, best moment, and it's my favourite goal of all time. It has to be Roy Keane semi-final against Juve. Oh my God! Just if you could epitomise a captain's performance, it's that. His goal.
And wasn't he suspended? Didn't he know he was suspended for the final?
Yeah. it's still my favourite goal in football. It's the glancing header to get us back in the game. That's my best moment. I loved it.
Wow. Who's that? Sorry, Marie Antoinette. Okay. Great. I love some of the names that come up. I don't know if you've ever seen it since we
Antoinette. Is she going to let them eat cake?
Do you know what, right? I get Savva, because my show used to be called Savva Talks Football. So I used to get loads of fake ones in that. There was like Savva Talks Mums, Savva Talks Dogs, Savva Talk. It was just like so many good ones. Like Henry Wright, if you know Henry in the Spurs community, Henry Wright has Henry Wrong TV, Henry Wong TV. One of his favourite managers is Unai Emery, so they have Unai Emery. He's brilliant. Go on, Dave. What your best moment?
I mean, the thing is, Sav, when I was a kid, I'd have to say, obviously, league title, European Cups, League Cups, right? I'd have to kind of there's two. Des Walker's only ever goal for Nottingham Forest against Luton Town to get us an equaliser in a game that we were shocking in. But really, my greatest moment, because I was there, I was able to savour it, I was able to absorb it. And because I'm at a certain age
scoring a goal for United, is that
it? Gary Birtles, his first goal for Manchester United. No. It has to, honestly, lads, it has to be Wembley last year. It was a dreadful game of football, but what it meant and what it changed in our club was just astonishing. And to be at Wembley that day,
especially the start of the season you had.
Well, do you know what, mate?
Yeah, I love it. I think everyone forgets that, right? How bad you are.
I've got a win. Total respect to you two lads for saying that, because a lot of people forget that. I remember going the start of the season last year, and
was it Chris Hayton in charge?
Chris Houghton, yeah. Dreadful football. I remember we lost to Cardiff and Middlesbrough in the space of 3 days at the City Ground, and we were pathetic. No fight, nothing. Steve. We went to Huddersfield the next game with Stephen Reid in temporary charge. He changed the team round. We played 3 at the back. We beat Huddersfield 2-0. Steve Cooper came in very decently, very shrewdly, said to Stephen Reid, "No, I like what you did at Huddersfield. Stay with us, be part of it." And we went on a run. And I think taking Forest in the round, if you like, from that point to where we are now is truly astonishing. A year ago to the day, I would have been discussing probably Luton Town away or West Bromwich Albion at home. Now I'm sitting on here talking to you fantastic lads about Manchester United, Tottenham Hotspur, Arsenal, you name it. And we're not as good as you lot.
Well, if you want the conversation. If you do go down, you can still come on each week and we'll just have a little section about the championship.
Yeah. Dave remembers. Dave's memoirs, I reckon.
Yeah.
Memoirs of Dave.
It's my way of kind of fighting off like the loss of my faculties, you know.
But you guys are right for time. Just you're right for time. Does anyone need to rush or just?
I'm not married, so I'm all right. And I'm going to go and do. I've got 6 hours in makeup like you.
I say I've got 3 hours to take all this off. So
my wife is out, so every time when she goes out, it used to be like, yeah, well, I'm going out, and now I'm like, you're going out. I could fit in a stream.
Mine was meant to be going out tonight. I was well excited. She was meant to be out, and I thought, oh, brilliant! I got loads of stuff now. It's like,
just quickly. So Minerals FC has said, Savva, question for you: which Spurs player was the Minerals general in your opinion? Now, if I'm reading this how I think you're saying it, do you mean like who was the kind of hard bastard in the team that was? That's how I read it. I don't know if you boys read it any different way, but
I think so.
Since I've been watching Spurs, a few spring to mind. One would definitely be Gary Mabbott for just Mr. Spurs. I would say Neil Ruddock took absolutely no prisoners at all. We had a player called Stefan Freund, who was a bang average footballer, but he was a hype man to the crowd. Do you know what I mean?
Graham Roberts.
Just a bit before my time. But yeah, then I go back. There's Graham Roberts, Mackay. My uncles and that will always talk to me about Danny Blanchflower and the likes. But I think that's what you mean. And by the way, this is everything that Spurs lack now, recently. Some bloke or Del Boy has said, I used to live in that tower block that overlooks the valley. Problem was, it was when it was vacated in the 80s, didn't see any football.
Mandela Towers, was it?
Ian Barron has said Eddie Howe's first ever game as manager of Bournemouth was against Darlington FC at the Darlington Arena. They got beat 2-1. I was there as a Darlington fan. Please, can you read this out? Savva.
Brilliant, Ian.
Ian, as far as I'm aware, is the only Darlington fan that watches. But since I've changed from being Spurs only, I'm getting a lot of Newcastle win and Liverpool and.
Are they the Shakers? I don't know. I might be wrong, Ian. I think Darlington are the Shakers.
They are.
And they had a sugar daddy for a while who built them a big new stadium, I think Darlington did. But as far as I'm aware now, they've Conference
struggled.
North.
Yeah, they've really struggled.
Conference North.
Alan giving some some unwanted news to Louis, saying I'm 61 and I don't expect to see Spurs win another in my lifetime.
But I never thought Forest would get promoted. So then I'm 59.
Yeah, different things. We've got Daniel Levy, but sorry, Louis turning 14 this year. Wow. Wow. Kevin said, who's a better player right now, Bellingham or Madison?
Bellingham all day long.
Bellingham.
It's got to be.
I
19. People forget he's 19. He's
captain of Dortmund.
I do find questions like this difficult, though, like in terms of, for me, they're different players for a start. Like, I think these two in the same team. For me, if I was England, I would have Rice and Bellingham.
Yeah.
Madison. There you go. Rice, Bellingham as the two. Madison there. Saka here. Grealish there. Harry Kane there. I've just won England the World Cup. Give me the job.
Yeah.
Right?
I've got a question for you, Savva.
Go on.
What comes first? Spurs win in your... Do you honestly think you'll see first Spurs win in the Premier League or England winning a trophy?
I reckon I'll die before either happens.
I'm older than Perry. I'm gone before any of that.
I think Spurs, look, at some point we'll nick a Carling Cup or something. I don't know. I mean, it's been 15 years. The law of averages says we've got to at some point.
I love the fact you call it Carling Cup because I still call it that as well.
Yeah,
I call it the Carling Cup.
Oh, do you mean the Rumbelows?
The Rumbelows, yeah.
The Rumbelows Cup. The Rumbelows Cup, the Milk
Oxford
Cup.
United 3, Queen's Park Rangers 0 at Wembley and stuff like that. Norwich and Sunderland.
Don't mention Oxford United to me because on the day I was born, they beat United, didn't they, in Fergie's first game in charge? So
absolutely.
Pac-Man has said, I've been to the pub, had 3 pints, picked up a Chinese and come back and you're still going. Can I be honest with you? Before we started this, my Chinese didn't arrive on time. So I've got half a chow mein sitting there. And I actually, that's why, do you know when you saw the dog up here earlier? That's what he was after. And now he's fast asleep.
My blueberries have gone as well there, Pac-Man.
As BT says, BT's always in the chat, says, please click the likes. There is, don't worry, we're just having a good old natter about football. Glenn, big up Glenn, hope you're well, my man, has said, Dave, would you take Eric Dyer?
No. No. Can I just say, I've seen Tottenham 3 times, and the time at the City Ground in the Carabao, we were really good that night. We won 2-0, and Eric Dyer I thought was dreadful that night. No, I wouldn't take Eric Dyer. No.
He won the best competition in the world for the World Cup. How the hell he got on the plane to go there was just
embarrassing. It's embarrassing, guys, that you've got players playing out of their skin like Tarkowski was, Tamori, and
Ray as well from Palace.
Yeah, great shout.
Eric Dyer went, and if ever anyone says to me that Gareth Southgate is a good manager, anyway, here's my night, Louis. Take care, my man. He said, anyway, gotta go. Have a good weekend.
It's past his bedtime.
It is. Man U to win the Prem. England winning a trophy. Ian has said Wrexham to win the Premier League before Spurs.
I love that.
You've got to. I mean, Wrexham is the ultimate that story is great, isn't it, guys?
Yeah.
I love that.
Have you watched the series, lads? It's brilliant.
No, I've not watched it yet. No.
I
actually
really recommend it.
They play some decent football, and the
I
bloke
watched
up
it
front
at
was
work
good.
the other day. I watched the Notts County game at work.
Ah,
the other
great
day.
game that.
Well, I tell you what, everybody in Nottingham. I mean, I don't believe there's any real rivalry between Forest and Notts, and I may be doing that down, but that Notts County Wrexham game was one that actually lived up to the hype. I mean, from Bostock's opening free kick to, and if you watch the documentary, Paul Mullin, who's their striker, his interaction with McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds, it's a cracking good story. What's lovely about it, it involves the real people of Wrexham, and I think it's heartwarming. It's brilliant.
I think they've done what they're doing there is brilliant, and what a story that he signs Ben Foster. He goes straight into the team.
He got pelters, by the way, didn't he, before this game, he'd had a bad game for him when they lost against Halifax. And fans were calling him you've got to get rid of him. It's a PR stunt. You get rid of him. This hasn't worked out.
And then what happened?
Oh, my God.
Yeah,
it's a bit like if you write off Jack Grealish on this show. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what we got here? Eric Dyer's not even good enough for Notts County, let alone Forest yet. True. Look, Dave, please, Eric Dyer.
It seems to me, Savva, I've got somebody's putting a gun to my head there, mate.
To be fair, even when I watch Roma, Chris Smalling's a much better defender than Eric Dyer. Because Roma don't really.
Didn't Jose lose the other night?
Listen, where's the second leg?
Feyenoord.
Where's the second leg?
Joking.
Where's the second? No, let's do this. No.
Joking.
Come on, go and pound your cheeks, and we'll have this conversation.
I need to read the transcripts between you two to know what's going on here. You know
No. This was basically. I think you were in the group, Dave, weren't you? We were just talking about Jose Mourinho and is he elite and all this kind of stuff. Look, I think, by the way, Arne Slot at Feyenoord, good manager. So Feyenoord played Roma, didn't they, in the conference final last year? I said to Henry yesterday, because Henry Wright and I work together as well, right, in a full-time, like a proper job. And I said to Henry yesterday, look, that can't be Rochelle Savva. I just failed to believe that that's your real name, but okay, thank you. Thank you. And I said to Henry, you watch. Jose will go there. They'll lose 1-0 tonight. And I said, he will take them back to Roma, and by hook or crook, he will get them to that semi-final. And for me, this has got Man United Roma written all over it for a final. And I want Jose. I'm going to go against all my beliefs here as a football fan.
I'll be muting my phone if he does.
I want Jose to stink the place out. I want him to go with 10 behind the ball, not have a shot on target, and then knock you out on penalties. That's what I would love. I would love that.
That's going to be an interesting night on WhatsApp, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
Dave, it was when I come out of the shower and I saw 4 voice notes, and I was like, oh, bollocks.
Do you know what? I was on Potsy's the other night, and I kind of read a book for about an hour before I went to bed. And then when I looked at my phone to kind of plug it in to charge it, there were 200 messages, and all of them were D and Lawless. Oh, and then Tapping Tomes came in, and I'm thinking, it's no wonder my battery runs down quicker. You know what I mean? But you got to love these lads. They're fantastic, all of them. You know what I mean?
It is a community.
It is. It's a great community, mate.
It is. Yeah. Do you know what? Listen, I have so much fun since I've come away from just doing Spurs channels. I have so much more fun. Actually, what I find is when you're talking football and it's not about your club, you can have a much more reasoned debate because there's no emotion. So if I sat here and said to all of us now, what do we think about what do we think about Wolverhampton Wanderers? None of us have got a connection to Wolverhampton Wanderers. So you have an objective view. Nothing you're going to say I'm going to want to fight that much to go, what do you mean? And the problem is when you just do one club, people, like, no one wants to be wrong. You know what I mean? No one can turn around and go, do you know, I was actually wrong about that player. They've proved me wrong. It can get a bit vitriolic.
Dead right, Sam. I find it, mate, I find it much more comfortable coming on a show like yours, Sav, or Potsy's, or and talking, if you like, being the only Forest guy, because I without being overly pompous, if people see me on a show like this and they don't know Nottingham Forest or they don't know the Forest fan base, and they see me as a guy who's measured and reasonable and like respectful of other clubs, then I think that's putting over a good. People go, "Oh, I saw that guy on," like Dan with Manchester. But if I go on a Forest chat, right? So I do Mr. Doy's show because I'm good friends with Mr. Doy. He kind of invited me on when I was just some bloke who would stand outside the City Ground nattering about football and what have you. Because I haven't got my own channel, as you know, and no followers and none of that. So you go on if I were to go on a show now, certain shows or certain channels say, "Well, I want Steve Cooper in," then I'm going to get pelters from the Cooper out. I mean, they everybody's entitled to opinion. They're perfectly entitled. I won't stop anybody having their opinion, but it becomes a little bit of a to and fro that I don't really want to get into. I want to come on. I like hear. It's been such a pleasure hearing about Manchester United from Dan and about his makeup regime and L'Oreal and clinic and Clarins.
I might start for you.
And like 4 hours, and he could only muster up that in 4 hours.
What do you mean? You don't know what I look like without it, mate.
Look, are you coming to the? I was hoping you'd be coming to the game on Sunday, then we could meet up, mate. But you know what I mean. I don't know what's happening like. But on, what you say, Sav, to come on and for me to be able to have a view about Tottenham and about Manchester United, about Arsenal, about. I mean, the first time I did Sav's show, right? It did strike me when we finished Sav. I came off the show. And it was like, well, Albert was on, he's Arsenal. You're on, Sam, Tottenham. Tom Little was on, he's Liverpool. And there was somebody else on. Flawless was on, he's Manchester United.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I kind of came off and I thought, so I've been on with like Arsenal, United, Liverpool and Tottenham. I'm Nottingham Forest. What am I doing there?
It's brilliant.
So I can't help but be self-deprecating about it.
Do you know what? I think it's great. I prefer this, right? As I said, a lot of people know I've stepped back. My main show is still a Spurs show, by the way. My main show is on a Sunday night called the Spurs Reviews, where I get my most viewers. And it's my Spurs fix for the week, right? But what I've found is I actually have, even though I get less views now, while obviously because most people were Spurs, so they might not want to tune in for general chat. Whilst I build that up, I get less views, but I find that when I come off the stream, I've really enjoyed myself more.
And learn a bit as well about other clubs.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even when I do I do a 10-minute video every day about something. And when I do a 10-minute video and it's not about Spurs, I finish the video and go, I'm not worried about what the comments are going to be in the chat. If it's about Spurs, I just know 50% of it is going to be so vitriolic. And it's mad because you think these are people that love the same thing that you love.
Yeah.
And if you don't love it in the same way they love it, then you're wrong. And like, this is the thing in the Spurs community at the moment. It's so vile. People making videos about each other, calling each other out, like publicly calling each other out. I think we're 40-year-old men. Like, if I have a problem with you, like, I'll ring you and go, dude, what's that about? Like, let's talk. Yeah. Okay, cool. You're a twat. I'm a twat. Done. Shake. The YouTube for me, I don't know where I'm going, but it's just a rant. YouTube for me has allowed people to literally just air all their dirty laundry in public. And it's come away from actually being about football conversation.
Yeah,
it's mad.
Sab, we've had it with Forest, mate, where obviously Steve is the key figure in all of this for us, and I think the vast majority is still with him, but there are some who are against him, and then there was this. You get like those who are pro Cooper are seen as this happy clapper thing, right? And I'm thinking, well, in an age of mental well-being issues and this kind of stuff, is it wrong to be happy? Oh, come along now, Dave. Time to be unhappy. Do one,
but Do you know? Look again. Bobby K. Big up, Bobby K. Spurs fan, lives in Canada. This guy's got one of the best sense of humours, I think. Ever. And every now and then he sends me a little voice note with his lovely, sexy Canadian tone, asking for all right. I said, beyond vile, you have to have the same opinion as others or you're an arsehole. Nonsense. What happens to having your own opinions? And I think this is where I think it's gone wrong. Most of the people that fall out in the YouTube world, it has started with a football opinion, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, I was very vocal that I did not want Antonio Conte at Tottenham Hotspur. Right? I was very vocal about it.
And I got laughed at for saying that I didn't want him at United.
Right. But because of that, it's now some people were saying, oh, you're the sort of, it's your fault. You've got what you deserve. And it's like, well hang on. What? Why? Why is it my... Do you know what I mean? And look, I'm sure every fan base has this, but obviously I'm in the Spurs community. Since I've come away from that as much, I just feel like I enjoy it more. I really do enjoy it.
I'm the same, sir.
I did a video the other day about Eddie Howe. And it got like 6,000 views. Just a 10-minute video. I didn't know so many Newcastle fans even knew who I was on my channel. But the interaction was really nice because it wasn't anyone having a go at each other. It was like, thanks for a view from an outside.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought YouTube was when I was getting into it.
Yeah,
that's what I thought it was all going to be like that. But honestly, the Spurs community is it's a mess. It's disgusting, if I'm honest.
It's an intra-rivalry. When you go outside that our communities have. I went on a show with the brilliant, and he is brilliant, Pete Davey, NUFC Loaded Mag, Newcastle. Dan knows Pete because Dan and Pete are on there. They're on what I call the big boys show with Potsy. Well, I'm down in the dungeons, right? But I went on Pete's show, and I was on for about 2 hours, and the time flew. And what was really nice for me was like I go on a show, and I'm the one Nottingham Forest I'm on with, like Pete. There was another cracking lad on, a Newcastle fan with a Scouse accent who was fantastic. Chris, his name was, and another like Stato Keith. We were on for 2 hours.
Oh my God, that poor bloke! He gets so much help.
But I tell you what, he's a really nice guy. He is, Dan. And I was on this show, and there were people underneath because obviously the night that Newcastle played Forest at the City Ground was my birthday, right? And I kind of a bit childish. He went, "Well, it's my birthday, you know." And then I'm getting all these Newcastle fans. How are you, Bonnie lad? Have a nice birthday. Hope you lose, but have a nice birthday. And as it went on, one bloke put a comment underneath, which has kind of stuck with me, where he said, "This guy goes," and it was quite flattering of me, and I get a little bit embarrassed. You get the guy goes, "What a really good guest you've got on from Nottingham Forest. What a change to the normal gobby twonks that we have on." Because the last thing that I will ever do, say if I got invited on a Derby County one, for example, I'd go on and I'd be respectful to Derby County. I'd probably get pelters. Why are you not being hateful? Why are you not being offensive? Why are you not being confrontational? I'm 59. I don't want to be bothered with that. I want to come on. I want. It's like us three have sat in somebody's living room tonight and we've had a good chat as three lads.
Yeah, and love
the game of football.
And it's not been a whole show of asking for subscribers and asking for likes. And
mate.
Do you know what gets me? What gets me more than anything with this is I like to think I'm 40 now, right? I like to think that if I'm having a conversation even about Arsenal, Arsenal are Spurs' rivals. But it doesn't mean I have to be vitriolic towards them. It doesn't mean that I can't compliment them. Now, if I do a video and it's, bearing in mind now I'm not a Spurs channel. So if I do a video going, what a fantastic job Arteta's done, I'll just get pelters from, you're not really Spurs, you're Arsenal. And you think, grow up. Like, grow up. Like, it's Bobby, I am 40. Yeah, I know. But look, guys, I do, look, we could talk all night. Everybody, I will be back tomorrow. I'm actually doing every now and then, and you guys are all more than welcome to join. I do a 2:30 show sometimes on a Saturday. I just watch the scores come in and pretend I'm Jeff Stelling, and a few people tune in and chat shit for about 2.5 hours. So I'll be doing that. Then I'm on the football terrace talking about Spurs after that. So join me there.
Grand National Day. Sav, Grand National Day. I've got the racing on the big screen, and I've got Jeff Stelling and the lads on my laptop, mate. That's me tomorrow afternoon.
Nice,
you know what I mean? So.
Nice.
I got an afternoon with the wife.
Oh, man. They ruin everything.
Makeup shopping. Is it makeup shopping? Get yourself some Clarins. And Clinique Clarins, mate. That's it. Not that I know, you know.
Of course.
So, Louis, yes, of course, you can come on the channel one day. You spoke very well earlier on on the Irish Hotspur and in here. So yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Bobby K, this is it. This is what I thought the YouTube world was going to be about. Anyway, listen, don't get me wrong. Likes and subscribe. Yeah, listen, I normally in most of my shows will say, please like, please subscribe. And the reason that I think a lot of YouTubers do that is I don't think people understand that it isn't just a case of going, do you want to join a stream? And you go. You have to get your guests. You have to get your content. You have to find the time in your day to do it. Most people at YouTube have a full-time job as well. The equipment costs a lot of money. So I think when people ask for likes and subscribes, it's because of that. Let's have a look. Savva, same with us. Started a Friday show, my Arsenal fan cousin. People saying I'm not a real Spurs fan. It's ridiculous. Anyway, Dave, as always, mate, absolutely class. Love speaking football. Thank you very much for coming on.
Mate. Been a pleasure to speak to. But I've seen Dan before. In fact, my old man rang me. I had to ring my old man at 6 o'clock. Said, for God's sake, don't ring me after 7 o'clock, so I'll have to mute the microphone. And he goes, why? What are you doing? I said, I'm on a show with Savva. And I said, there's a lad coming on from Manchester United who I've seen on the Big Boys show. And I think he's a really good lad. So honestly, Dan, it's been a pleasure talking with you, mate. And same with you, Sav. So thank you very much, lad.
Yeah, lovely, mate. Lovely.
Dan, thank you. Dan, where can people find you? Where do they go and hit subscribe?
So at the moment, I'm in the process of building my new channel, ready for the pre-season. So that is going to be where all of my videos are going to be. It's at United First on YouTube. At the moment, I have delved into the world of TikTok and what a world it is. And you can find me on there, airing my views, normally looking very deflated after the last few weeks. And that's at United First, but just remember to swap the I for a 1.
Yeah. There we go. And obviously, you know who I am because you're watching my show. But if you haven't already subscribed, please do. We're chasing down the 5K. It was really weird, guys. I went on. I was on 3.8K on Monday, and now I'm on 4.6. And basically, all that happened was after I came off my show on Monday night. After I came off my show on Monday night, I got a message from Tapping Tobes, huge Spurs channel.
What a guy!
Said, great carrot, lovely bloke.
Yeah, he said, Sav, this was literally 9:30, and I've been streaming since about 4 o'clock. The missus was pissed off with me. He was, Sav, do you want to? Can you go jump on the Big Six? I can't make it, and I'm like, I can't turn that down. So I went on the Big Six with Grizz and Turkish and Matisse and all these guys. And from then to now, I've got 800 subs through going on one show. And it was like, wow, that's powerful, right? Those guys must be paying it. Anyway, so, there's a crap story about nothing. Anyway, guys, I'm going to go and finish this cold chow mein. Probably give some to the dogs.
I'm going to go save my marriage.
You go and save your marriage and take your makeup off. Dave, go and ring your dad.
At my age, lads, the bladder controls the brain, so I know exactly where I'm going when we finish.
So thank you very much. Thanks, Bobby. Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed going on the Big Six. I had a great debate. If you haven't seen it, they're live right now, actually, but go and look at the show we did the other night. And it's a conversation about half an hour in with me and Grizz. I'm absolutely roasting Trent Alexander-Arnold for his inability to be able to defend. And that's the story of how it went. Anyway, thanks, everyone. We could be here all night. Much love. See you soon. Speak to you all tomorrow. Take care. And we are